Welcome to the PigPenPodcast. I am your host, Damien,
And I'm your host, Justin.
and today we're back on the Exposition Seat.
Yes, we are.
Justin.
And yeah, if you don't know, the Exposition Seat is our show where one of us is in the seat and they are explaining a piece of media to the other one that they have never consumed.
And dude, I gotta cut you off for a second.
Do it.
I gotta cut you off and say, this is monumental.
Oh, yeah.
Because today, normally I'm the one in the seat talking about Metal Gear, but today we're doing something crazy. We're doing something spicy.
Yeah, man, we're switching sides.
Oh my God.
I'm in the seat.
You're in the seat, dude.
And let me tell you, your cheeks kept this mighty warm because I'm feeling, I don't know, man. I feel cozy.
You feel all of the heat from my buttocks.
I do. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, 6 episodes of you sweating on this seat has left it nice and prepped for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've put in the work.
I have been putting in some work. I got some more work to do too.
Oh, yeah.
But for now, we're gonna let you take over the load.
Yeah, man.
Take my load, dude.
Today, I'll take it.
Good.
Today we're talking about Mistborn, The Final Empire, which is the first book in a trilogy. And Damien, what do you know about Mistborn?
The only thing I know at all about this entire thing you're gonna be exposition seating on me,
Yeah.
is Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
I know the man's name.
Yes.
The author of the Mistborn Trilogy. I know it's a trilogy.
Yes.
I know that there is an empire, and it's probably the final one.
So you know the cover of the book.
Yes, I do. Yes,
Very
I do.
good. Very good.
But yeah, that's that. I'm like that ass. That's literally all I know.
Well, and that's perfect because that means I get to just fill you with knowledge that you've never heard or seen.
I am actually so excited to be filled with all of your knowledge.
Good. And I guess before we start, maybe this time you tell the people where they can find us.
If you really are feeling so inclined, you could, in theory, go to Spotify or YouTube.
Yeah.
And on both of those, you could find us if you typed in PigPenPodcast.
Yeah. Yes. And like we said, there's no spaces in there.
No, there's not. It's
Don't use
literally
spaces.
it's literally one word, and if you use a space, I will spank your balls.
I've had this thought. I feel like spaces are honestly, they're not needed. Because where in the alphabet is the letter space? It's not there.
Well, it's on the bottom of the alphabet, underneath the Z, X, C, V, B, N, M line.
Oh, okay. So it was underneath the whole time. Is it invisible?
No, I'm literally looking at it.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. There's like a space bar.
I see what you did there.
See, I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
at the keyboard.
yeah, I
For
see what you
everyone
did
at
there.
home, I was looking at the keyboard.
Yeah. And I guess for me too, because I didn't really put that together.
Yeah, you didn't put it together, and no one at home did either. I'm just on a whole nother level. I'm intellect beyond.
So yeah, we discussed this, but I am gonna be, if I'm ever in the seat, it's mainly gonna be books. If Damien's in the seat, mainly gonna be video games. And if we ever have like a two-parter, we're gonna be doing like back to back, and essentially we're gonna be in the seat until the game or book is finished. So
yeah, so like for this book is probably going to be a 2-part episode, right?
definitely, yeah.
Okay. So the next episode that comes out next Friday will be part 2 of this book, and then I will have an episode on Metal Gear. But we will be keeping a individual entry in a franchise together. So you'll never have Mistborn Part 1, Metal Gear Peace Walker, Mistborn Part 2. That's not going to happen. It'll be Mistborn Part 1, Part 2, then Metal Gear.
Yeah, so we'll keep it contained, and I feel like that's the easiest for the audience.
Yeah, because we don't want you guys to like get super invested in a book and then be like, oh, I got to listen to this dumbass talk about Metal Gear for a week, and then I can get my Part 2.
Yeah, nobody likes to wait.
Yeah, no. So like we'll keep Part 1s and Part 2s together. So
Yeah.
just keep that in your little brains out there.
Yeah, but also another big reason is so that, for you or for me, you're not forgetting everything because
Yeah.
it's been so long. So that'll help.
Because I don't care what you're telling me about. I
Yeah.
just am caring about Metal Gear. So if I get a Metal Gear break in there, then I get to
Yeah.
forget everything
We
you
are
told me.
not a Metal Gear channel.
We could say that.
After you finish this franchise, we're gonna be moving on, David. How are you gonna feel about that?
Um, we can say that.
Okay.
I will literally, dude, I swear, Metal Gear will be in every ounce of my being.
Okay. What are you swearing?
That Metal Gear will be in every ounce of my
What are you
being.
swearing on?
Well, not Jesus because that's blasphemous, and not the devil because that's evil.
Right.
So I guess myself.
Okay. So I will kill you.
If Metal Gear is not part of my every ounce of being, then
You
you're
will
going to
die.
kill me.
Yeah. I'm
Nice.
holding you to it.
All right.
Good.
Sounds good.
We've solved this
We have
problem.
established that, and I think that's the intro, dude.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
Jinx?
dude, that was actually pretty in sync.
But yeah,
Call me
dude.
JT.
Honestly, no. Honestly, I think that's all. So we're gonna jump right into it, folks. Okay, Damien. So, like you said, Mistborn Final Empire, written by Brandon Sanderson. This was published in 2006. So it's been a minute, almost 2 decades. And this was Brandon Sanderson's second published novel. And the trilogy actually ended up obviously getting pretty popular. It's still pretty popular today. So I'm interested to see what you think about it.
I'm interested to see what I think about it as well.
And I will tell you this, at the beginning of each chapter, there's like a little entry at the top. So it's not revealed what perspective, like who's actually speaking in these entries, but like before every chapter there's like a little, like a paragraph of text. So I'm going to read you some of those. I'm just preparing you so you're not confused. But
Okay.
okay, so this is the
I got
first.
one question before we get in.
Give it to me.
When does the Metal Gear show up?
All right, so the first. Yeah, so the prologue, but right before the prologue there's a little paragraph, so I'm going to read this to you. Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. The philosophers assure me that this is the time, that the signs have been met, but I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many people depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world on my arms. What would they think if they knew that their champion, the hero of ages, their savior, doubted himself? Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. In a way, this is what worries me most. Maybe in their hearts they wonder, just as I do. When they see me, do they see a liar? Prologue. Ash fell from the sky.
I'm getting a tortured hero. That's the vibe I'm picking up.
From that little
Yeah.
paragraph? All right. So yeah, the first sentence of the book is Ash fell from the sky. So in this world, it's a very like post-apocalyptic kind of, or more, I guess, dystopian is a better way to say it. And
Like, is it fantasy?
it's definitely fantasy.
So, like, am I thinking like medieval?
Yeah, so medieval, and there's literally like ash that falls like rain constantly. So in the world, like the sun is like like a burning red sun and just a gloomy atmosphere. And like I said, like ash is consistently falling. They have like mounds of ash that they have to pile it, and there's like certain people that's their whole job is to just sweep ash. So yeah, it's very interesting, but that's kind of the setting we're in. And at the beginning of the prologue, we open up to a noble who is entertaining an obligator of a Lord of Venture.
What the hell is an obligator?
Yeah, so an obligator they're part of the Steel Ministry, which is the church and central government of the empire. So an obligator, think of him as like a priest, but they're not, but they're also like the law. So they're not just like religious, they're also, and there's different subsects, but I won't get into all that. But an obligator is essentially a law priest.
So I'm thinking like the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, actually. And there are inquisitors as well, and I'll get to those.
Or do they have lightsabers?
They do not.
Okay.
Yeah. So a noble is entertaining an obligator to gain the favor of Lord Venture, who is another noble, and basically
Lord Venture.
Lord Venture. Yeah, we'll get to that. And I'll also tell you this: the Steel Ministry, who is like the the church and central government, they are under the empire, who is ruled by the Lord Ruler. And the Lord Ruler has ruled for over 1,000 years.
Is it so? Has there been previous Lord Rulers?
This is the Lord Ruler.
Oh, so he's the only one.
He is essentially like the steel ministry says that he is God.
He's got a pretty high price on his head, I
Yeah.
guess.
And obviously he ruled for 1,000 years, so he's immortal. It's so it seems.
Well, I don't know if that is this. Am I thinking like so he is? We think he's immortal. Like people have regular lifespans.
Yes,
Oh,
everybody has regular lives.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the steel ministry and the obligators, they ensure control over the nobility, and they have tattoos, like they're bald and they have tattoos across their eyes and forehead.
Wow.
Depending on their tattoo, it signifies their rank. Anywho, this
What what happens if you rank up?
if you rank up, dude, you get more tattoos. That's what it is. So you start with like a small one, and then it gets bigger.
Oh, okay. I
I
thought
think.
I thought you were saying like they get like this huge piece that says, "Oh, I'm a private," and then it's
Yeah.
like when you get ranked up to like colonel, it's like, "Oh, I gotta get another
Just
one."
had to say Colonel.
Colonel.
You had to say it.
Sorry, I had to do. I told you, dude. It's
No,
in every aspect of my
I love
life.
when you say Colonel.
Colonel.
It feels good. But they're overlooking a field of ska workers. So
Ska.
ska. So
Like the music?
no.
Oh, I thought
But
you were trying to bring out some classic 2000 ska bands.
well, so the ska are a class of people, but they're also like some people view them almost as a different race. The ska are like the lowest of the lowest class. They're essentially slaves, and and there's a shit ton of them. Like there's a ton of ska, and they're all owned by the Lord Ruler.
Are they the ones that do like the ash sweeping?
Yes, and they also do essentially all of like if you would think like lower class work, I guess, because there's ska and nobles. That's it. There's ska and
Oh,
nobles.
so like everyone in the middle class is a ska.
Everyone in the middle class is a low noble. Everyone else
Oh,
is a ska, but it's also determined by blood. Like
okay.
in order to be a noble, it's determined by your blood, and so the ska are slaves, and they're all owned by the Lord Ruler, and the Lord Ruler rents them out to nobles.
Okay.
Okay, so they're overlooking this
There's some
field.
dark shit.
Yeah, for real. And this is a quote just to kind of give you like a little how the nobles view ska. This is what the noble says. There was a sluggishness to their efforts, but of course, that was the way of the ska. The peasants were an indolent, unproductive lot. They didn't complain. They knew better than that. Instead, they simply worked with bowed heads, moving about their work with quiet apathy. So,
So we are dealing with your classic class divide,
oh yeah, big time. Big
and
time.
the rich hate the poor.
And the poor hate the rich.
That makes me think the poor hate the rich. So if there's that many ska, dude, what if the ska rose up? What if the
Dude,
ska rose up, dude?
that's a thought.
All right, let's go.
All right. And as this noble is overlooking this field of ska, he sees one of them look up at him, make eye contact, and just smile right at his face.
The ska?
One of the ska does.
Dude, I'm telling you, these ska are about to rise up.
Yeah.
I
So,
calling it ska revolution.
Ska Rebellion.
Sky revolution.
Cut to night, and the mist has come. So, like I said, there's ash that falls from the sky. Also at night, a thick mist comes every night and essentially covers all the land to where like you can't even see anything. It's like a fog, like a dense fog that comes every night and just covers the land. So this is like, there's some environmental problems going on here,
Yeah,
to say the least.
this sounds like but my next thought is that if the mist comes, does the mist
I just I just spilled my coffee on everything.
No.
It's
Oh,
okay.
well, now that the coffee's spill has been dealt with,
Dealt with.
I was just gonna say, the mist comes. I'm assuming that maybe the mist births some people, and we have some mist born.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah, dude.
So also the mist. So it comes every night. The ska are essentially afraid of the mist. They don't even ever go out into it. They stay in their homes at night. They never go out at night. And one of the reasons is because of mist wraiths, which are some say they're just legends. Some say they're like, no, I've seen them. They're real. And it's like this ambiguous creature that nobody really knows what it is. And, so that's a big reason they avoid the mist. So I'm just throwing that out there. So, like I said, cut to
I
night.
bet so. These mist wraiths are definitely real.
So, okay. And it's night. And remember that Sky said that was smiling.
Yeah.
That was a man named Kelsier.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is a tall, hawk-faced man with light blonde hair and hazel eyes.
Hawk faced.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
I feel like when I read like hawk-faced, I think of somebody who's like he's got like a pretty like poignant nose and a cut jaw a little bit. I guess I feel like it's very like
I'm getting
angular.
Arnold Schwarzenegger with Gru from Despicable Me's nose.
That's not what I want you to imagine this man as. Please, please. Oh, that's funny though. Okay, so he walks from the mist into this hovel filled with ska, and the ska are like, "Whoa, why were you out there?" And he's essentially talks to them, and he's trying to motivate them to rebel. So
I told you, dude. I
yeah,
literally called it.
he's talking to them. He's like, listen, this noble, like, there's so many of you, you can all rise up against him. You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to feel like you need to follow these traditions that have been held up. Like, you are more than this, and they're essentially not listening. They're like, no, like we're not going to do that. So he literally leaves and ventures out into the mists. He kills the Lord.
Whoa, this is all happening.
He kills the obligators. He kills the taskmasters.
Wait, so they're out in the mist? I was kind
No,
of.
no, no. They're all asleep.
You said he ventures out into the mist and then kills the Lord.
So he ventures out into the mist and goes to their manor.
So, like the Ska's like living quarters are separated
So,
from the nobles.
This is like a plantation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, okay, I was thinking like a city with like walls around it, kind of like an Attack on Titan thing.
Right. This is outside the city. Yeah.
This is outside the city, and like that city, the nobles live in a different area than like the Ska do.
So
And it's like separated by like this plains where the mist happens.
So we'll get to like how the city is, but no, yeah, this is separate. This is like a plantation further out from like where the cities are.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, the Lord also like took one of the Ska girls, and Kelsier was trying to like use that to be like, look how evil they are. So he literally goes out, he kills everyone. He kills the Lord, the obligators, the taskmasters, and the soldiers, and he burns the manor to the ground.
I'm thinking the Arnold Schwarzenegger comparison was kind of good
Yeah,
because
that
this
was
guy
good.
sounds like the Terminator.
Yeah, Gru though, not allowed.
Not allowed.
Not
dude.
allowed.
But
Yeah. So
okay.
he wreaks havoc, and that's the prologue. That's the introduction to the world. And
So this Lord who's ruled for 1,000 years is now dead.
oh no, this was like the Lord. This is not the Lord ruler. This is just a Lord.
Oh, like okay.
So like nobles are also lords.
like a lord of the land.
A lord of the plantation.
Yeah, so we're dealing with what's that called? Feudalism.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
The system that like they did back in medieval ages.
Yeah.
So like the lord is like the mayor.
Yeah. But this is he's just, I guess it was just me saying another way of like the noble who owned all these ska and was using them on his plantation.
So the landlord.
The landlord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he kills the landlord and then a bunch of priests.
Yep. Exactly.
Priest soldiers.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a little bit more feasible because you said he killed the Lord and I was like, dude, this is wow, we escalated.
That makes
quickly.
sense why you were like, what?
Yeah, because you hyped up the Lord ruler as like this immortal god, and I'm like,
he did not kill the immortal god.
And I thought you were like first prologue. You're like, he kills the immortal god, and I'm like, okay,
that'd be a crazy way to start a book, though.
Yeah, it would.
So that's the prologue, and then we have part 1, the survivor of Hathsin. Hathsin, yes.
Hathsin. Hath sinned.
He hath sinned.
He hath sinned.
The survivor,
I think I see what he was doing there.
And also, I forgot to mention, Kelsier has like scars. These like really, like he has scars running up both of his arms, like they're very visible too if he doesn't cover his arms. Like and we'll get to why. Okay, here's another little.
Do the scars have like a pattern?
So it's very no,
Okay.
no. So here's another paragraph at the beginning of the chapter.
Okay.
I consider myself to be a man of principle, but what man does not? Even the cutthroat, I have noticed, believes his actions to be moral after a fashion. Perhaps another person, reading of my life, would name me a religious tyrant. He could call me arrogant. What is to make that man's opinion any less valid than my own? I guess it all comes down to one fact. In the end, I'm the one with the armies.
That sounds like that's reading as if it was the Lord Noble or
Lord Ruler?
the Lord Ruler. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like he's the one. Was that like, is that?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. These little paragraphs at the beginning of each chapter, we don't know whose perspective it is or what it is.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like a little mystery that we're kind of reading as we read the story.
I'm right now, um, as the leader of the pig pen, I'm ruling, decreeing that is the Lord Ruler.
It's been said.
It has been said.
Okay.
Now I have the right to change my mind. Don't get me wrong,
You do.
because if I say something and I change my mind later, even if I already decreed it, it's simply
Yeah.
being decreed
Well, you
again.
didn't swear on your life this time, right? So,
No, I do.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case,
No, I have the right to change my mind.
you may die.
No,
if
I
you're
have the
wrong.
right to change my mind.
Okay, fine.
I said so.
I don't think that's how swearing works, but
Dude.
whatever.
I want to hear what happened to this Lord Ruler guy.
Okay. Chapter 1.
Can you tell he's my favorite character so far?
Dude, that's concerning. He seems like a pretty bad guy. I don't know. But hey, man, he's allowed to be your favorite character as long as you don't like what he does.
I mean, he sounds like a chill dude.
All right.
What, you said he like stole a girl? What do you mean by that? He just like took a
No,
girl?
that was the noble, not the Lord Ruler.
Oh,
The
that
Lord
guy.
Ruler owns people and sells them.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
probably shouldn't say
Yeah.
that he's
Yeah, there you
cool.
go.
I forgot he is a slave driver.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah, no,
he's been a tyrant for like 1,000 years, but it's okay. He's also God. That's the question.
well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if he's chill.
Yeah.
We got some book to go.
Exactly.
All right.
So chapter 1, again, the first sentence is ash fell from the sky. So it's kind of
Is that a thing throughout every chapter? Is that ash fell from the sky?
it's something that is constantly brought up because it's so apparent, like the ash. But the Brandon Sanderson just uses the same sentence for the prologue in the chapter 1. It's just the way he wanted to start it, I guess. But
It sounds interesting.
yeah. So we're introduced to Vin.
Vin,
Vin, V-I-N.
the Diesel.
No,
Yeah, dude.
Vin Diesel and Gru
Vin Diesel and Gru
are Mistborn
Schwarzenegger.
main characters. No. Okay, so Vin, she's a thin 16-year-old girl with short black hair.
Oh, the Vin Diesel comparison did
did not
up.
hold up. And she's around like 5 feet tall. So she's a teenage girl. She's got like short black hair, and she's introduced, and she's sitting in this watch hole of a thieving crew that she's a part of. She's not on duty. She's just looking for some solitude, and she hears her brother's voice in her mind. Her brother's name is Reen, and he says, "When you're alone, no one can betray you." So this is a thing that is constantly happening with Vin, is she's always hearing her brother's voice in her mind, and he's always talking down to her, and he's always kind of hammering these thoughts into her about how you can't trust anyone, everyone's going to betray you. And kind of the backstory of that is he was also part of this thieving crew that she is, but he ended up leaving her with no reason why or any of that. But he was always very abusive to her and kind of formed her into the person she is now, to be very lonely and whatnot. So I'm just throwing that out there so that you can kind of keep that in mind. I'm not gonna.
Are we getting that this is like a schizophrenic voice that she's hearing, or is this like?
It's not,
because my first thought was like telepathy.
No, it's not like schizophrenic. It's just something that when she. It's definitely a mental health thing. Though.
So
like,
she's just been abused and she's traumatized.
Traumatized.
She's
Yeah.
traumatized. Okay.
Yeah. So
man, we're starting this book off with slaves and trauma.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It gets dark. But Vin, she is summoned by Kamon, who is the leader of this thieving crew, and he
I just gotta say, off rip, I hate this guy.
yeah. Well, he beats her.
Oh, I extra hate this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. He beats her for being
His name sucks.
Timon. Yeah,
Kimon,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
You couldn't even add an O at the end, like kimono.
yeah.
Like you couldn't even make it sound fun. It's just
No, it's
Kimon.
too. Yeah, he was too lazy about it.
Bro, he's reminding me of Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. He beats her for being late and or for essentially being, in solitude because he needs her for this next job. And the book tells us that Vin uses a reserve of luck within her to lessen the pain of the beating. So we don't necessarily know what that means yet, but she has this thing that she kind of pulls from within her body to make herself not feel like as hurt.
Wait,
And
like an actual like it negates the pain, or is it
yeah,
like
yeah,
she
it
just
like
kind of like
it lessens the pain. Like actually, it's like some kind of magic.
oh, okay, okay. Because when you said that, I was thinking like, oh, she's just a willpower.
No, no,
But like,
it's some type of magic.
okay,
And
we had a magical girl who
yeah,
was also Vin Diesel.
exactly. I guess. But Kimon knows about this luck, and he uses her because of that.
I
And
hate this
so
guy so
yeah,
much.
yeah, he's uses her, and he basically the next job they go on is he's trying to con an obligator, and he uses Vin to help him, and Vin is able to also use this luck to kind of alter the emotions. So she uses the luck to alter the obligator's emotions to
She
make
can
him
use this
believe him.
magic on other people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's like, and she even doesn't really know what it is, but she calls it luck. That's what her brain processes it as. Chapter 2. So the beginning of this next chapter, I'll give you another paragraph. If men read these words, let them know that power is a heavy burden. Seek not to be bound by its chains. The fairest prophecies say that I will have the power to save the world. They hint, however, that I will have the power to destroy it as well.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's the Lord Ruler.
Chapter 2. All right, so this is Kelsier's perspective, and he meets up with a friend of his named Doxon. Doxon is a middle aged man with a stocky build, a squarish face, and a short half beard. And they're on top of the city walls.
So Sylvester Stallone.
They're,
Dude, they're all action heroes, dude.
this is the Expendables.
This is the Expendables
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
fantasy setting.
They're on top of the city walls of Luthadel, and that's where Vin was introduced as well. She's also in Luthadel. Luthadel is the main city where the story takes place, and that's where the palace of the Lord Ruler is as well. So Luthadel is the capital city.
So is this from where we started with our Arnold Schwarzenegger man? Is
So
this is a different area?
this is a different area. So he was out further away on some plantation, and now he's in the city.
Okay.
He just got to the city.
Okay, so that plantation is just kind of a plantation farther away.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's
actually
the intro to the story. It's not really anything we have to
Okay.
keep in mind anymore.
Okay.
So he's on top of the walls with his friend Doxon, and Doxon is what?
Bro, he's just I don't know, Dachshund's just a crazy name.
Yeah, no.
It's
It's unique.
making me think of Prancer and Vixen.
Okay.
Donner and Blitzen.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you have that thought, but I'm not going to put any energy into it personally.
Dude, I'm thinking he's a reindeer. He's just a reindeer who walks on two legs.
Fair enough.
Did you give a description of this guy?
I did.
Oh,
You
oh
called
no, this was Sylvester Stallone.
it was. Yeah.
It's Sylvester Stallone with the bright red nose.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Okay, okay,
And
okay.
honestly, that's okay. So they're Doxon is a ska as well. And but we find out that actually Kelsier is not a ska. He's a half blood. So he's half noble, half ska.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And half bloods are hunted down by the Steel Ministry.
Yeah, they're like
They're not allowed.
you're not allowed to inbreed.
Exactly. Okay. So they're talking about how they have a meeting coming up. And cut to Vin, and Kamon uses Vin again for another part of this job about conning the obligator, and this time they go to a Lord Prelan. A Lord Prelan is one of the most high-ranking obligators. So they're essentially like there's you could say there's bishops, there's priests, but like they're like the high priests kind of, if that makes sense.
And they're called prelans?
Lord Prelans.
Oh. Oh wait. So this isn't one person, this is like a group of people?
Yeah, there's several.
Okay.
It's just the highest rank of obligator you can reach. You know how I said the tattoos. So the Lord Preland is like they are the highest rank you can reach as an obligator.
Okay. Okay.
So Kamon is trying to con one of them, which is
That's
pretty
that's a
ballsy.
that's a pretty big deal.
Pretty ballsy. And he uses Vin again to use her luck on this obligator. And the obligator ends up giving them 3,000 boxings, which boxings are the form of money in this book, like kind of like gold coins, but they're not actually gold. But anywho, and they end up walking away and going back to the lair with 3,000 boxings. Kelsier and Doxson actually ended up meeting, like being in the same area as this is going down, and they see the High Preland and Steel Inquisitor start tailing Hamon and Vin after
So they're
they've
onto
left.
him.
Yeah, yeah. And so a Steel Inquisitor, by the way, I said earlier how you brought up Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Steel Inquisitors are large. They're like large obligators with metal spikes driven into their eye sockets.
Oh,
Yeah, they're greatly feared, and no one knows how to kill them.
that's pretty metal.
And they are tasked with suppressing the use of magic. So they are the ones who hunt down half-bloods. They hunt down people who use magic, like who abuse the use of magic. So we can assume that the Steel Inquisitor knows Vin used magic on the Lord Preland.
Okay,
So
they're pretty metal. I like these
they're
guys.
pretty dope. So they are following Kamon and Vin, and uh Kelsier basically says he'll distract the Inquisitor and Doxson will distract the Obligator.
So Kelsier and Doxson have been like they've seen that this is happening. They're
Yeah,
seeing it from like afar.
yeah.
Okay.
And Kelsier's he's like, I'll distract the Inquisitor, you distract the Obligator. And Kelsier swallows a collection of metal flakes floating within an alcohol solution. And these metal flakes are iron, steel, tin, pewter, copper, bronze, zinc, and brass. The 8 basic elementic metals. Now, I'll eventually explain what that means, but he swallows these metal flakes and he's like, I got the Inquisitor. Chapter 3.
Do we see him do anything after that, or is
We
it
do not. No. It doesn't we don't get to see what he does with these metal flakes, but he swallows them.
like in like in a shot?
Yeah, it's literally like a shot.
Okay.
It's like this little alcohol solution that has these metal flakes in it.
Does it make him feel good?
It makes him feel good. Yeah. You
Okay.
could say that.
Okay.
So Vin and Kimon are back at the lair, and Vin tries to leave, but Kimon finds out and beats her again.
Fuck this
He
guy.
loves beating.
Fuck this guy.
He's a bad guy.
Come on, dude. I'm ready to throw hands.
Yeah, well, Kelsier shows up.
Kelsier shows up.
Kelsier shows up, and he beats Kimon unconscious.
Oh shit.
He
Okay.
promotes the second in command. He takes the 3,000 boxings that Kimon got, and he rents the lair for the night and kicks Kimon into the street.
What is Vin do while this is happening?
Vin is surprised. She's like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what is going on?" She's unsure. She doesn't know who to trust or what to believe right now. And Kelsier tells Vin that the luck she's been using to fuel her magic is actually metal in her body.
She's got like a lump of like iron in her stomach.
So yeah, and he explains her. He basically runs her through these tests. He's like, he gives her metal to swallow. He's like, try to do this.
And she immediately trusts him.
No, she is very, very not trustworthy of him.
Okay, okay.
So because like I said, the thing with her brother, like she is a very untrustworthy person.
Okay.
But the thing is she's in a position where like she has no one and nothing, and this dude just showed up and saved her. So she's kind of like,
yeah. I get.
you know what I mean?
I'm catching the drift. It's like she's like a reluctant. I don't want to say he's coaxing her, but he's like her only form of salvation, and she's like very hesitant. Okay, I'm getting
Yeah,
it.
and also this is the first person who ever talked to her about her magic. Like he immediately knew she had magic. She's like,
That's
what?
true. That is true.
Yeah, she's like,
Imagine if you were just like this super special person in your entire life, no one ever gave a single fuck about it, and then one day this dude's just like shows up, and the first thing he says is, Dude, it's like fucking it's like Hagrid in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
He's like, "You're a wizard, Vin."
it is actually. And Vin has always wanted to learn more about it, and
But
this dude's like, I know what you have.
if if the Hagrid that showed up to my house looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I would actually immediately trust him.
Yeah,
If Arnold was like, "Vin, you're a wizard, Vin," I'd be like, "All right, let's go."
I would not, but that's okay. Maybe I would. I don't know. I have to be in that situation.
That was how was the Arnold accent?
No, it was actually not bad.
It was horrible, dude.
But it was obvious who you were impersonating.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's good enough.
Yeah, honestly, dude, it sounded more like a Stallone
Yeah.
than Arnold.
Well,
Hey yo, Vin, you're a wizard, Vin.
Good boy.
so Kelsier runs her through some tests, feeds her some metal, and he basically tells her after all these tests, he's like, Finn, you are a Mistborn. This reserve of luck she's been pulling from has been metals in her body. And just to give you some preface, okay, Mistborn are able to use all of the allomantic metals, and each allomantic metal gives you a certain ability, kind of. And Mistborns are there's Mistborns and there's Mistings, which are more common. Mistings, you only have access to one of the basic allomantic metals.
What is Kelsier?
Kelsier is also a Mistborn.
Okay, but you still have to like ingest the metal.
Yes.
So how has she been doing magic without ingesting?
So it's basically been residual metal within her body. So you know how we
We have like copper, zinc,
iron in our body.
Yeah.
That's what she's been drawing.
I mean,
from.
I guess she hasn't really done any like insane magic.
She hasn't.
She's only
Exactly.
done like small things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess if she ingested metal, she'd be able to like do better magic.
Exactly. And he tells her, he's like, the only way you have access, or the only way you can be a Mistborn or a Misting, which, by the way, like I said, Mistborns are very rare. If you have access to the magic, most of the time you only have access to one.
Okay, so she's not like Harry Potter. There's a lot of wizards in that, but there's like very small,
Mm-hmm. But the
very
thing is,
small amount of Mistborns.
yeah, you can only have access if you have noble blood.
Oh, so she's a halfling.
She's also a halfling.
Ooh.
So Kelsier's like, who's your daddy?
Dude, I'm already calling it. It's the Lord Ruler. I am literally already calling
Well, I'm
it.
about to answer who it is. And
Uh-oh.
it's not the Lord Ruler, it's actually a Lord Prelan. Her dad is one of the high-ranking obligators, and she doesn't really know her dad. He's been out of her life, blah blah blah.
So does any time that a noble and a ska, anytime they have sex, they create a magic baby?
No, so it's random, but also so let me tell you this. One of the laws that the Lord Ruler has is noblemen are allowed to sleep with ska women, but they have to immediately kill them when they're done
Gross. Gross. Gross.
in order to not have halfling babies.
That is.
The nobleman can sleep with any ska woman he wants as long as he kills her afterwards.
I actually am losing faith in the Lord Ruler. I'm losing
You're
faith.
losing faith in this god.
Yes, at an increasing rate.
Yeah. So
That is-
clearly,
That is nasty.
yeah. So clearly, this Lord Preland did not kill Vin's mother. So we have
maybe he's a good guy then. He
well, the
didn't
Lord
kill her.
Preland. I'm not talking about the Lord Ruler. But you're
No,
saying
no,
his
no, the
I see.
Preland, Lord
Yeah,
Preland.
yeah, yeah.
But he also is like a priest in a cult church, so
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you a quick rundown of. Actually, no. I'll wait till I introduce some characters, then I'll let you know what each metal does.
Okay.
And then I have this little sheet here. It's like a cheat sheet, so you can
So,
always reference it.
Does every single metal on the planet have a different effect?
So there's 10 basic allomantic metals, and then maybe more, maybe not, but we'll get to that. So there's only like I said, there's an exact amount. It's not every metal on the planet, and these metals are alloys as well, which it's a little confusing. I don't necessarily remember the whole which one of these are alloys, which one of these are not, but it's not necessarily important, but just as long as you know which metals give you power.
Okay.
So, after Kelsier tells Vin all this about her magic, he basically tells her, he invites her to a meeting that night because, like I said, Kelsier rented this lair for the night. And he's like, come back here tonight. I'm having a meeting with some of my friends. You're invited, but it's your choice. So he gives her the choice.
So Kelsier's a good dude.
He's a good dude. He's a stand-up guy, and he likes standing up for what's right. And Vin ends up agreeing. So she ends up coming to this meeting, and she meets a few new faces. So we meet Ham. His name is Ham.
His name is Ham.
His name is Ham.
He's already a Pigpen podcast favorite.
He is. He's a misting who can burn pewter. And pewter enhances your physical abilities. So if you burn pewter, it makes you stronger. It makes you, have better stamina. It makes you not feel pain as much. Pretty straightforward.
So that sounds like what she's been doing.
That's what yeah. So you would assume that's what she burned to make her not feel as much pain.
Yes.
Exactly.
I want to know how much pewter this woman has in her.
Yeah. So, we meet Ham. He has the build of a soldier with close cropped hair that sticks up on his head. He wears like a sleeveless vest. He's a big dude.
I'm thinking biker. I'm getting biker vibes.
Yeah. He's like a friendly giant.
Okay.
He's a nice guy. And then we meet Breeze, who is a misting that can burn brass. And brass soothes emotions. It makes somebody more likely to it makes somebody, if somebody's angry and you use brass on them, it makes them calmer.
That also sounds like what
That's what she
doing.
used on the Obligator to make him more able to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
persuasion.
Exactly. So Breeze, he's a misting who can burn brass. And Breeze, he's a character. So he's an older, portly man with an elegant style.
Portly. Does that mean like chubby?
So portly, actually, I have no idea. I don't remember.
I'm thinking
it is a very specific word. I almost want to look it up.
When I hear portly, I'm getting like Bacchus, like the Greek god.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So I'm
having a stout body.
Yeah, so like a chubby older gentleman.
Exactly. And he carries a dueling cane, and he's
a dueling cane. Does it have a sword in it?
No, but it's he uses it just to because he's like in his mid-40s, I think.
Okay.
But he's introduced and he asks Vin to get him a glass of wine, and Vin stands up and she's getting him wine, and she's like, "Wait, why am I helping this dude?
Wine? He's Bacchus.
Yeah, he really is.
I'm getting Bacchus.
Yeah, I'll allow that reference.
Okay.
But Vin's like, "Wait, why am I getting him wine?" And then she realizes that he's soothing her. He essentially like soothes people constantly. He's always doing it.
He's down to use his powers on other people that he's working with.
Exactly.
So we don't trust Breeze.
That's a question. So those three are talking, and then we have Clubs. Clubs walks in.
His name is Clubs.
His name. Okay, so these are all nicknames, but
oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, these are all nicknames, but I'm not really going to tell you any of their actual names because they're never referred to by their actual names.
Okay.
So Clubs walks in, and he's a misting that can burn copper, and copper is a metal that hides allomancy. So if you burn copper, you can essentially.
So you would use it like in conjunction with other metals to like make it so you don't look like you're using allomancy.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're a Mistborn, you can use it in conjunction. But since he's only a misting, he can hide other people's allomancy.
Oh, okay. So like Mistborns can use metals together versus
Mistborn can use all the metals
versus Mistlings who can only use one kind.
Exactly.
You did say that. Yeah, you did say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Clubs, he can burn copper. So also each of these have like a name. So somebody who is a misting that can only burn copper is a smoker. So they can smoke out an area and keep people hidden that are using magic.
Okay.
And then somebody who can burn pewter like Ham, they're called thugs because of the physical attributes.
Okay, yeah, I'm catching the drift.
Breeze is called a soother because he soothes emotions. It's pretty straightforward.
I still am distrustful of Breeze.
And okay. So, but Clubs, he's very standoffish. He's like the oldest. He's even older than Breeze. He's
so this group of people that are like they're the group of bandits got two old men with them.
Well, okay, Breeze isn't like old, and neither is Clubs.
But, was he like 40?
Yeah, like they're just they're not young men. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, but Clubs is he's the older of the bunch, but he seems like very standoffish. He seems like he doesn't want to be there. And then a man named Yedin comes in.
Yedin?
Yedin,
Yetten?
Yeden.
Oh,
Yedin,
Yedin.
Yedin,
Okay.
and he seems out of place. Like Clubs seems like he doesn't want to be there, and then Yedin seems like he doesn't know anyone, and he's just kind of sitting in the back. He's like, I don't know.
What does Yedin do? What's his
Yedin, he's
magic?
a Scot. He doesn't have any abilities.
Oh,
Yeah. So
he almost feels like a representative of some sort.
yeah. And then finally, Kelsey arrives with Doxson. And like I said before, Doxson's also a Ska, so he doesn't have any allomancy. So Kelsey arrives and he reveals to the rest of the crew that Yedin is their employer. So
Okay, so
Yedin is who they're gonna essentially do a job for, or
so this is like a group of rogues.
it is, yeah.
Okay.
And and he kind of goes through the plan with them because he invited them all here to pitch a plan and to see if they want to help him and join him. And this plan is to help, and this is Yedin I'm referring to. Like Kelsier's like, we're gonna help Yedin overthrow the final empire by supplying him with an army and an opportunity to seize control of Luthadel by luring out the Luthadel garrison and destabilizing the nobility and essentially raising a Ska rebellion, just like you said.
Dude, I literally called it. I
Yeah.
called it, dude. I'm the smartest man. At the beginning of this episode, I said I have mass intellect, and I'm proving so.
Yeah. And Yedin, he actually already has
S-
some. Good.
So, like, are they getting paid? Is that why they're
So okay, yeah, I'll get to that. Yedin, he actually already has some rebels already. He has some Ska in these caves outside of the city. So they're not necessarily close to the city, but they're like out in another part of this land, and he already has some Ska in these caves. And in return, Kelsier and his crew get half of the Lord Ruler's ATM.
so they're this is not like just a mission we're going on. This is like
This is the mission.
we're overthrowing the government.
Yeah, so he's like, we're essentially going to steal the Lord Ruler's shit. We're going to overthrow his empire, and we're going to bring Ska back to what they, and we're going to essentially give power back to the Ska. And this is a room with like 6 people.
Yeah, they seem a little bit well, I guess he said he did have people on his side already.
They already have some Ska.
Yeah.
So, and
So
what
there's like what, 12 people?
Yeah, well, what Kelsier is pitching is they're basically they're basically going to get as many Ska on their side as possible, and they want to have like an army of 10,000. So
12 to 10,000 isn't a big jump.
no, it's
So
not. It's not at all.
they got this.
Yeah, and I mentioned ATM. So the Lord Ruler has an ATM reserve. ATM is actually the rarest and most valuable metal in this world, and the only place where it is the pits of Hathsin, which I mentioned earlier. And the pits of Hathsin is where Kelsier escaped from. And that's why he's called the survivor of Hathsin, because nobody has ever survived the pits of Hathsin.
That's the plantation that we were at earlier.
No. Don't even ever remember that again.
So this plantation needs to leave my mind now.
It does until a long time from now. But
Oh, so it comes back.
not really. Anywho. So the survivor of Hathsin's. So the pits of Hathsin is where A-Team is mined, and the Lord Ruler basically sends people there who he it's not like jail, but he banishes people there to mine ATM for him until they die, basically.
So it's like you fucked up, you're going to Hatson.
You're going to Hassan to mine ATM for the Lord Ruler until you die. Exactly.
Okay.
And those scars on Kelsier's arms are from him mining, to where there's geodes that have all these spiky crystals, and the ATM's at the very back. And if you break the geodes, it breaks the ATM. So you literally have to stick your whole arm into the spiky crystals to delicately grab the ATM. So anyone there has the same scars, but Kelsier's the only one who's ever escaped the pits. So
I'm liking Kelsier, dude.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a legend among the Ska.
Dude, Kelsier he's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the reason he was sent there was because he has tried to break into the Lord Ruler's palace before, but he failed. And he tried to break in with his wife, Mar, or Mare, depending on how you pronounce.
How's it spelled?
Mare, probably Mare.
I would say Mare.
Yeah. So he tried to break into this palace with his wife Mare, who was a misting as well. Well, Kelsier's a Mistborn, but Mare was a misting. But they failed, and
She died.
they were both sent to the pits, and his wife died there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's sad.
yeah, and he wants to, and on top of all of this big plan that he's pitching, not only does he want to overthrow this empire, steal the ATM, cause a Sky Rebellion, he also wants to kill the immortal Lord Ruler, and he believes that the 11th medal, which he shows the crew, can do it. So he has the
The 11th
the
medal.
11th medal. It's this legend that has that people have talked about, because like I said, there's these 8 medals, and then there's atium, and there's also gold, which doesn't really come up in this book. So it doesn't really matter what it does, but it is something. So there's the 10 medals, but then Kelsier's
So
like,
this 11th medal is, in theory, more strong than the ATM.
yeah, Kelsier believes it is the key to killing the immortal Lord Ruler. That's what he believes.
Do we know what the ATM does? Yeah.
Not yet, but the character Kelsier does, and
Okay.
we'll get to what it does.
Okay.
It is very powerful, seeing as it's the rarest metal.
Okay.
So
So is this 11th medal less rare?
it is also rare, but it's not really known. So people don't even
Okay, so it's not like it's the rarest metal because no one even knows it exists.
exactly.
So no one's even looking.
No one's even looking for it, and it's more so legend. People
Okay.
are like,
So Kelsier's got some knowledge on him.
he's got some knowledge. He's prepared. And that is the end of the chapter. So he pitches this plan, and
Are we in chapter 2?
no. That was actually chapter 4, but I forgot to say that at the end, they all actually end up agreeing. Now, it's not like a right away thing. They're all very hesitant. They all say some quips back and forth, and they all end up agreeing, except for Clubs, who just walks out. The one who was like, seemed like he didn't like anyone.
Fuck this guy.
He just walks out.
This guy fucking
He's
sucks.
like, I'm not doing it.
I'm a clubs hater. I hate clubs.
Okay. And then Vin also agrees, like I said, hesitantly, but Kelsier basically tells her, like, and he also tells the rest of the crew that she's a Mistborn, so they're all like, whoa. But he tells her that if you
Kelsier's
join,
also a Mistborn.
yes, which they already knew, but he's like, if you join our crew, I will train you in Allomancy in return for you helping us.
Dude, I'm really liking Kelsier because I genuinely am getting Arnold Schwarzenegger Hagrid. And
That's cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And his whole character, like I said, the first time we see his character, he's smiling in the face of the noble. Like, he's a very much a smile in the face of evil. He's a very positive person, even though
Is it a smile out of positivity or is it a smile out of like
it's a smile almost as if I'm smiling to defy the sadness within me, because I'm better than that.
I'm thinking though maybe it's like what's that called? Where like you know something the other person doesn't and you give them like a smirk like I know better than you.
Yeah, it could have also been that too, because you literally killed that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the smile. I'm thinking that he's got a little bit of a couple tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you another little paragraph at the beginning of this next chapter.
It's the Lord Ruler.
I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. The fairest philosophers claim that I'll know my duty when the time comes, but that's a small comfort. The deepness must be destroyed, and apparently I'm the only one who can do so. It ravages the world even now. If I don't stop it soon, there will be nothing left of this land but bones and dust. Chapter 5, Clubs, who walked out on this plan, he comes back, and he kind of had a moment of reflection, and he ends up telling Kelsier that he agrees.
No,
He'll
don't
do
trust
it.
him. Don't trust him.
He'll join. He'll agree.
Nope. I'm saying clubs, get out of here. Get out of here, dude. I don't even want to see you.
You don't like his moment of reflection?
No, I don't trust this man.
So that night, Kelsier ends up breaking into Keep Venture. Keep Venture is one of the keeps of one of the great houses, the Venture family, who I briefly mentioned in the prologue, that was what that lord was talking to the Obligator. He was trying to gain like some favor with House Venture, and you were like, Lord Venture, but I was like, we'll get to that. So this is that dude's keep, Lord Venture.
Okay.
And Kelsier breaks in and steals a safe of atium that this Lord Venture has. And he ends up fighting some haze killers. So what haze killers are they're kind of like they're nobles who, because not all nobles have magic. It's like I said, it's not like if you're a noble you have magic. It's not, it's more random. So haze killers are soldiers that use specific kind of weapons and armor that are specifically used to fight magic, to fight allomancy. So there's two metals, iron and steel. Iron, if you swallow iron and use iron, it pulls on metal. If you use steel, it pushes on metal. So you essentially are Magneto.
So yeah, like telekinesis.
Yeah, but with metal. So if you, for example, this is a really well,
This is such an obscure form of magic.
it's honestly awesome.
This
Because it is so unique,
It is very. I'm actually having to like think about this versus
dude.
just like like a mana type spell based.
Yeah, and I was about to explain some things, but I'll get to it in a couple chapters later. But yeah, so there's iron and steel. So these haze killers, they don't wear any metal. So they wear like wooden armor and they use obsidian blades. So they use like obsidian weapons as opposed to metal weapons because they can't be
That's
pulled or
fire.
pushed. Yeah,
I like the obsidian sword, like a
yeah,
pure black. Like I'm thinking like jagged sword.
exactly. So Kelsier fights them off, steals the safe of Atium, and dips. Um, cut to Vin. So Vin has become acquainted with the crew a little bit more, and they're all staying out at Club's shop. So, like I said, Clubs is a smoker who can hide allomancy. So they're all. Are you laughing because he's a smoker?
Dude, this is just a funny name to give
Yes,
them. It's like
a
clubs of the
smoker.
smoker.
Yeah, he's a smoker.
Clubs, dude.
Honestly, if he feels like an old dude who would smoke anyways, like he does.
Yeah, but I mean, just like the intro. Sorry,
Clubs is a smoker.
clubs
Yeah.
of the smoker.
Yeah, and I should probably tell you this: bronze. If you burn bronze, bronze reveals allomancy. So
Um,
copper is like the opposite of bronze. So if somebody, so like for example, the Inquisitors, the ones with the steel spikes in their
yeah.
eyes, they
Do they use bronze?
they use bronze.
Those fucking hypocritic
They
pieces of
actually
shit.
they use all of the metals.
I'm actually so pissed off.
They use all of them.
They're hypocrites,
Yeah. Well, they're essentially like allomancy police,
but they're using allomancy,
but they're using allomancy.
so they should be killing themselves.
Well, allomancy is not illegal. It's only illegal if you misuse it, and it's pretty obscure. So yeah,
yeah, but I mean, if they're killing everyone who can use allomancy,
they're not.
then
They're not killing everyone. Like I said, allomancy is not illegal. But
but anyone they don't like who uses
yeah,
allomancy
yeah,
is illegal
yeah,
because
yeah,
they're quote unquote misusing it.
yeah, right.
Sounds like a corrupt police
A little
force.
bit. Yeah, a little bit. So somebody can use bronze to find out if someone's using allomancy, unless somebody's burning copper, which hides it. Anyways, I
So
forgot to say that.
is you said you said there was a metal like like pipe that goes through these steel inquisitors.
Metal spikes that go through their
Are
eyes.
those made of would you say bronze?
I'm pretty sure they're either steel or iron.
So does that give them powers?
We don't know.
I think it does.
The Inquisitors are very.
Okay, so do you have
No
to
one really knows about them.
do you have to ingest the metal? Like does it have to digest
So yeah,
or does it just be in your body?
so once you swallow it, you you don't have to burn it right away to use it. It can stay in your stomach, but once it leaves your stomach, you can't burn it anymore. So you can use it right when you swallow it, and you burn it within inside you, and then it goes away. Or you can leave it there for a couple hours and then burn it. But obviously, if your body flushes it out, you can't use it anymore.
I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm getting a weird vibe about those steel pipes through their eyes.
Yeah, spikes.
Spikes.
Yeah, yeah. So Vin's become more acquainted with the crew, and she meets Lestaborns, and Lestaborns is his real name. Later on in the book, Kelsier calls him Spook, and they basically call him Spook for the rest of the book. So I'm just gonna refer to him as Spook because Lestaborns is just a whack name.
His
to say.
name is Lestaborns.
Lestaborns. Yeah, but we're gonna call him Spook because that's what he's called for most of the book.
Okay.
So he can burn tin. So he's a misting. Tin enhances your senses. So if you burn tin, you can see further, you can hear better, you can like pretty normal stuff.
So it's
You can
like
feel things more potently.
so it just enhances the five senses.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And
That'd be crazy to use in conjunction with like ecstasy.
yeah,
Dude, if you like took some ecstasy and then ate some, what did you say it was tin?
Yeah,
You took some ecstasy, then ate some tin, and then you just went out for a night on the town.
yeah,
That'd
you'd
be,
be buzzing.
dude, you'd actually be hyper realistic.
Yeah, honestly, these are kind of are like drugs a little bit,
I
but they
mean,
have
yeah,
powers.
it's like you take something and you get effects from
And
it.
if you overuse it, it can really affect you.
You can OD on metal.
Not necessarily, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Um. So also, I just want to throw this out there. The way Spook talks, he talks in the Eastern dialect, and this is a sentence. This is a sentence that he says in the book. Not of the yetting yet, wasn't the place I was young. That's how he
Not in the
speaks.
yetting yet wasn't the place I
Yeah,
was young.
that's how he speaks. So when you're reading what he's saying, you're like, it gives you a headache. You're like,
Oh my
what is
god.
this man
Oh my god.
saying?
Okay, hold on. Do we get a description of Spook?
Um,
Do I know what this can I know what this man
he's like a
looks like?
15-year-old teen. He's I don't know. I didn't really remember the description.
Because the vibe I'm getting is
He's like a
like
lanky teenager,
I'm
in my
getting like a
opinion.
newsie, like from the
Yeah,
Newsies.
same. That's literally how I think
I'm
of him.
yeah, I'm getting like one of those like little rapscallions.
Yes, yep.
Not in the yetting yet. Shut up, Spook.
We love Spook. We love Spook, but he's a very timid teen. So the crew discusses gathering up the 10,000 ska that they have to get to aid this rebellion, and they eventually come up with a plan to have Vin pose as a noblewoman to seed lies and rumors within the nobility, so they can try to cause like a house war to cause like a bunch of chaos within Luthadel. Because they want to cause as much chaos as possible so that they can kind of take advantage of the chaos with the ska.
Distraction.
Exactly. And uh so they also have another person on the crew who's not in Luthadel. He's in another city called Felice, and he's somebody who's posing as a Lord Renault. And this is kind
Lord
of
Renault.
yeah, this is the alias that Vin will be the family alias that Vin will be a part of as she's trying to
So she's
pretend to be
faking
nobility.
to be a part of this Renault family.
Exactly. And Kelsier's kind of already set up this whole noble background already in conjunction with this other person who's pretending to be Lord Renault. But Kelsier says that the reason Lord Renault is not really with them and the reason he's away in this other city is because for some reason he wouldn't hold up very well against scrutiny from an inquisitor. And that line's not really addressed. So we don't really know what that means. But Lord Renault's alias or disguise apparently wouldn't really hold up. So he's a little he's in another city.
So okay.
We don't know what that means.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Okay. Another paragraph. I'll give you another little which is definitely not the Lord Ruler. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm thinking so this is the start of every chapter.
Every chapter, and I'm not reading you all of them. I picked certain ones
Oh, okay, okay.
because if I read you all of them, it would just be a little too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking as Lord Ruler.
Rashek is a tall man, of course. Most of the terracemen are tall. He is young to receive so much respect from the other packmen. He has charisma, and the women of court would probably describe him as handsome in a rugged sort of way. Yet it amazes me that anyone would give heed to a man who speaks such hatred. He has never seen Plenium, yet he curses the city. He does not know me, yet I can already see the anger and hostility in his eyes.
Rashek.
Rashek. Yeah. Name dropped Rashek. Chapter 7, we're introduced to Marsh. Marsh is Kelsier's brother, older brother.
There's a lot of characters.
I know. There is a lot. So I understand if you forget some. Marsh is Kelsier's brother, and he's a misting who can burn bronze, the one that reveals allomancy.
Okay.
So he
So my question is if you use copper to hide
hide.
your
Yep.
copper to hide your allomancy and someone else uses bronze to reveal your allomancy, would that be
Copper will always trump bronze.
so if you're hiding the allomancy, no one can tell.
Exactly.
And if you're revealing the allomancy, even if you're like using it on someone with copper, it won't work if it's
If someone's burning copper, bronze will not work.
okay.
Bronze works best. Bronze is probably the weakest of the metals.
It's probably only used by like the Inquisitors.
It's
Right?
used bronze is really good for finding mistings because mistings can only burn one metal. So if they don't have a smoker with them to hide their allomancy, somebody who can burn bronze can always find them and can always know they're using magic.
Okay.
Um,
But it's essentially useless against like a Mistborn.
exactly. It literally is basically useless against Mistborn. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, because
Okay.
yeah, you're tracking. So Marsh shows up and Kelsier reveals to Marsh the plan, and he tells Marsh he wants Marsh to infiltrate the Steel Ministry because he wants somebody on the inside of the Obligators as well. So Vin is kind of going to be with the nobles. He's like, Marsh, I want you
Got an
to.
inside man in both ranks.
Yeah, that's what he's kind of pitching to Marsh. But Marsh, he doesn't give his answer yet. He's iffy.
I mean, honestly, that's fair of Marsh because I mean, infiltrating the nobles is a different task to infiltrating the guys that are trying to kill you.
Yeah, yeah. The Obligators and the Inquisitors, they're
And if Marsh can only use bronze,
yeah,
that's the worst. Hey, I know you got the weakest
yeah.
form of magic, but I want you to go hang out with the guys that can tell that people are using magic and want to kill all the magic people.
No. Again, they don't want to kill all the magic people.
No, I mean, okay, I know they don't want to kill all of them,
Yeah.
but they want to kill all the ones that we know. So that's what
Yeah, you're
I
right.
was meaning. Yeah.
The only reason I said that was just so that just because certain parts of the story I just will kind of be confusing if you think wrongly.
I do know they don't want to kill every magic users, just essentially the ska magic users, because
Yeah, so it's kind of like guns are legal, but if you use guns wrong, you get arrested. It's like
yeah,
magic is legal. If you use it wrong, you get killed.
but anyone they don't like who's using the magic wrong
Yeah.
is
Yes.
quote unquote misusing it. So
There you go,
yes,
yeah.
no, I get that. It's like if the Lord ruler is using magic, they're not going to say shit. But if like they see Joe Blow on the side of the road, fucking giving himself a boost of copper, they're going to be like, "Hey, you're dead."
Mm, no.
No, so Ska can use magic and they don't care.
Ska are unable to use magic.
Yeah, but there's like these mistings.
Oh,
and-
you're saying if they're like a half blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, you're right. Joe
Okay,
Blow, Joe
okay.
Blow would get massacred.
Then okay, yeah. So maybe that's what I should have said. They don't want to kill anyone. They just want to kill like the mistings. And
The half bloods.
yes,
Yes, because nobles can also be mistings. But
Okay. We're clearing it up. Okay.
that's okay. I get it now. This is the collection. Yes. Nobles who are mistings are legal. Half bloods who are mistings are illegal.
So basically, they're just racist.
There you go.
They're
Yeah.
just racist.
There you go. We've
Okay.
done it. Yeah. I probably could have explained that better. I get the confusion. Okay. So Kelsier ends up taking Vin on her first training session, and he explains to her that the mists are actually their friend. The mists are like a great way for them to be concealed in the night. Because if you can burn tin, you can see through the mists with tin because it enhances your vision. So the mists are like kind of like their shroud in the night, and he gifts her a mist cloak. So a mist cloak is a ribbon-like cloak worn exclusively by Mistborn to obscure them in the mist. So the reason Mistborn wear these cloaks is so that if a noble sees somebody wearing a mist cloak, they immediately know to avoid them. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a way to show somebody that you're not to be messed with. And he teaches her about the eight basic elementing metals and how you could also flare metals. So you can burn a metal super fast to give you a big boost, but it gives you a side effect. And it so like if you flared pewter to make yourself like really strong, you would be like really tired and super run down once it wears off. So
So it is essentially drugs.
yeah, essentially. And this is what I wanted to explain to you how like iron and steel works because they're awesome. They're my favorite. So iron pulls on metals, right? So what Mistborns who can use iron and steel do is they literally use them to fly. So they use iron to pull on metal throughout the city and fly up into the air, and then they use steel to like they'll throw a coin on the ground and use the steel to push them into the sky, and they'll keep throwing coins and basically like metal jump through the air. And then they use iron to like pull themselves back to the ground, and they use steel to push off the metal.
I'm getting like what I'm picturing. It's not okay. Don't. I'm thinking more of the movement, not the actual way that they're flying through the air. But I'm kind of picturing like the scout unit, like the scout regiment from Attack on Titan.
Yes, yeah.
And like Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like that weird combination of like flying and then like falling and like
Exactly.
kind of swinging.
Exactly.
It's kind of what I'm picturing, but
And
obviously not the way they're doing it, just like the movement of them doing it. That's like what I'm picturing.
that's honestly what I picture too. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And like if someone's wearing metal, you can literally push off of them to fly. So if someone's wearing metal, you can just and they get thrown down. And when you burn these two metals, these blue lines like come out of your body and it shows you where all the metal is around you. So it's kind of like a way to see.
Wait, how do they see where all the metal is?
So once you burn the iron or the steel, these blue lines appear and they are like tethered strings between pieces of metal around
Oh,
you.
so that's like a side effect.
No, it's part of the magic to like so you can see where metal is around you to
Yeah, but
use.
it's like a side ability.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's not like the main one is pushing and pulling metal.
Exactly. And
It's just like a side effect.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But metal inside the body. So like if somebody was wearing like an earring or if somebody had like
What
well
if
honestly,
someone else ate some metal?
yeah, actually exactly that. If someone ate metal, you can't use metal that's inside someone's body. So if
That'd be pretty gnarly.
it would.
Dude, you could just like rip someone's stomach out.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So I just had to preface that so you
How
know.
strong is this magnetism?
Oh, it's very strong.
So like in theory, if someone did like consume like a piece of metal and you used whatever steel or iron, one of the two to like pull that metal towards
Yeah.
you, would it like rip their stomach through their body?
So it's all about the weight of the person. So if somebody weighs more than you and you both try to push each other at the same time, whoever weighs more would win that fight, if that makes sense. So if we both tried to push, you would get flown back and I would not if I weighed more. You know what I mean?
Wait, if you weighed more than me or if I weighed more than
Yeah.
you? So it's
If
like
I weighed more than
okay,
you.
so it's like whoever's heavier has the advantage.
Exactly.
Okay. Does that mean like body weight? Like if someone's
Yes.
like bigger, they would win, or does that just mean weight in general? Like if I'm wearing like a suit of knight armor and you're like our bodies, like you weigh 200 pounds and I weigh 200 or no, you weigh 250 and I weigh 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Clearly you're heavier. But if
Yeah.
I'm wearing a suit of like knight armor, I'm going to be like another 100 pounds heavier versus you who are naked are still at 250.
Honestly, that's a good question. I don't actually know. It doesn't come up it won't come up a ton with the story, but that's a good question. That's something I'll have to check because I
I'm
don't remember.
I'm okay, so for now just to ease my mind, I'm probably going to say that it's just body weight.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Okay.
And also to preface this, Vin has an earring that she always wears, and it's from her mother. So her mother died when she was young. Her mother basically, um, her mother was, I'm pretty sure, schizophrenic, and
So with that earring, it's not on the inside of the body, but it's connected to the body. Could you use that as
so because the earring pierces her ear, you can't use it. So
oh,
Vin
okay.
like asked Kelsier. Vin's like, this earring from my mother. Like, do I have to take this out now? Like, can I never wear it? He's like, no, you're fine because it pierces your skin. You're good. So like,
Basically, my way I'm rationalizing this is that like your body is like giving off a certain signal that like disrupts the elemancy. So
yeah,
like if
okay,
the metal like pierces the skin, it like disrupts the elemancy.
yeah, that's a good way to say it.
That's the way my brain's processing
And
this.
like, so for example, the Inquisitors have those spikes in their eyes. You can't use those.
Ah,
Yeah,
I
you can't use those
see.
against them.
I see. I see.
Exactly.
Says the blind man.
Yeah, that's a throwback. um, okay, so Vin and Kelsier they end up venturing outside of Luthadel after this training session, and they encounter a mist wraith. They are real.
Mystery. Dude, I told you.
Yeah, which Kelsier reveals to Vin. He's like, they're harmless.
I'm so smart.
You're so smart. Kelsier tells Vin that they're harmless. You don't even gotta worry them.
Wait, they're chill.
Yeah, so
I wonder if they're only chill to Mistborns.
no, they're just chill.
So like if like some random noble walked out into the mist, they'd be chill.
They'd be chill. So,
You got like a weird smile on your face. I don't trust you.
well, let me tell you what these things look like.
Okay.
This is a direct quote from the book. The creature had smoky, translucent skin, and Vin could see its bones. It had dozens upon dozens of limbs, and each one looked as if it had come from a different animal. So these things are like giant blobs that
They're
have,
like amalgamations.
you know, the thing from Spirited Away?
Yes.
Think of that, but translucent skin as opposed to black.
Okay.
I feel like that's a good.
But the limbs are from like different animals.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of like the like shape of the thing from Spirited Away, but translucent and like
It swallows things that and then uses those limbs kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But the thing is like
That makes me think maybe like if they're not hostile, maybe they're just like maybe they are just spirits of like other Mistborn.
well, they can be hostile. So like they're just really slow and easy to see and easy to avoid. So technically they're harmless, but look, if you just stood there and let one come up to you, it could very well swallow you. But it's
Okay.
very easy to just run away. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. So
Um
like classic zombie.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kelsier and Vin end up meeting with Sazed. Sazed or Sazed, I'll say Sazed. He has a long, flat face with a tall, willowy body and abnormally long arms. His earlobes are stretched out, containing studs, and he wears an assortment of jewelry. He is a terraceman steward, which are terraceman stewards. It's terracemen are another race. So those little paragraphs I've been reading mention the terraceman, like Rashek. He's a terraceman. Remember?
Okay.
So there's a
Like
st-
another race
yeah,
like in like D&D standards where
yeah,
like that kind of race or just like
exactly.
they have different colored skin.
They're another race in that standards, like
Okay.
another species, I guess
Oh,
you would
okay.
say.
Okay.
So a steward, a terraceman steward, they're trusted advisors and servants to high-ranking nobles. So they're like the servants of the nobility, whereas ska are like the slaves of the nobility. Does that make sense? So like a terraceman steward would be like this really nice looking butler looking type who is like an advisor to a noble, and they're very like respectable, and they're like somebody who carries your
But they're
things,
still a slave.
but they're still servants.
So like a butler,
Yeah,
like you said.
like yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And Sazed, he actually studies religions. So he occasionally he always is mentioning religions he thinks would suit the characters. So he'll bring up a religion. He's like, I feel like this religion would suit you. And because he knows so many, he doesn't necessarily believe in one religion, he just studies them. So he's always throwing out
He's a
religions.
scholar, dude.
He's a scholar. And he ends up taking them to Lord Renault's estate in Felice,
Taking
Vin and Kelsier,
okay.
through in a carriage.
Okay.
They go to Felice to meet Lord Renault. And
So Renault is aware of the fact that they're going to pose as his family?
Lord Renault's part of the crew. He's not
Oh.
actually Lord
Okay,
Renault.
that makes more sense because earlier it said Lord Renault would not like he wouldn't do well if he was the one.
Exactly.
And I was like, "Wait, so is he on the team?"
He
And if
is.
he is on the yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yep. And he tells Vin that she's going to play the daughter of his quote unquote distant cousin, who obviously doesn't exist. And her name will be Valette. So she's gonna be pretending to be Valette Renault.
How's it spelled?
Vallette, or Vallete. I think it's two T's,
I'm thinking
maybe two L's.
I want to pronounce it Valet.
Valet. Ooh,
Valet.
maybe
I like Valet.
Valet Renault.
Valet
Very
Renault.
French. I feel like it's very
That's what I'm
French.
saying. It's like last name's Renault. It's got to be Valet, dude.
Yeah. And
Valet Renault.
yeah, and she's gonna be pretending to gain favor for their house. So she's gonna be going to balls and being like, yeah, she's gonna be showing up and pretending like she's trying to mingle and all this, but she's actually gonna try to sow some chaos, and maybe not sow chaos, but try to figure out what these nobles are up to.
Dude, she's gonna sow some chaos in the balls.
Yeah, and yep.
Dude, she's party crash.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, you can keep going.
No, that was good. But that's the end of part one, dude.
That's the end of part
That's
one.
the end of the Survivor of Hethson. Not
Oh, I thought you were saying part one of
not
the
the video.
episode. I was like, damn, more that was quick.
No,
I was
yeah.
like, I'm into this.
So part two is called Rebels Beneath a Sky of Ash.
Okay.
Yep. So, a few months have passed since the last chapter, and so we get a little bit of a time jump, and Vin and Kelsier are continuing her allomancy training. So And Vin is ends up getting a haircut and a bit of a makeover because she will be going to her first ball very soon. And Sazed is quizzing
Ball as in like she's disguised as like the other person,
as the noble.
as the noble. Yes.
Yeah, she's going to be going to her first noble ball.
Okay.
And Sazed is quizzing Vin on her noble cover, so like her fake
Oh.
background and her training so far. Because Sazed, being a steward of nobles, he knows a lot about the culture. So he's been like training her how to act, how to, how to eat, how to dance, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so this is like a month. Like this is a long operation.
It
I was
is.
kind of picturing it as like I was thinking they were doing like a mission.
So this is like
Like she's infiltrating one ball and this is all happening in one mission. But this is like she's going to multiple balls and gaining
this
a
is
rep.
a long operation
Okay,
because
okay.
like I said, this is the mission. So
Okay.
a lot of prep. And Sazed is, he's doing his thing. He's offering some religions, and he states that he knows over 562 religions.
That's a lot.
He's a scholar, like you said, yeah. And Kelsier, he's kind of reviewing Vin, and he's satisfied with her progress. And so he essentially gives her the right of way to attend her first ball, which will be at Keep Venture.
Keep Venture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this Lord Venture, which that's where Kelsier stole the ATM.
Yes.
Okay. So that was all happening in Felice, where Lord Renault is pretending to live. So Vin returns to Luthadel, and she ends up meeting up with Breeze, and he teaches her a little bit more about Barras, because that's his ability. So he kind of gives her a little
Barras or brass?
Brass.
Brass. Okay.
Yeah.
You said Barras. I was
Barras.
Barras.
No, yeah. So he gives her a little more training because that's his specialty. And she ends up joining in a conversation between Ham and Breeze. Ham, like I said, he's a friendly giant.
He's my favorite character.
Yeah, he's also very philosophical. He always brings up these questions throughout the books.
Absolutely my favorite.
And I wanted to kind of bring this one up that they talk about. So he discusses the morality of killing the Lord Ruler because he is essentially God. So he's talking about like our basis of morality wrong because it contradicts the ruler who is technically God, so on and so forth. Ham's not saying he believes this, he's just bringing it up.
Well, my question to him would be, is he God? Because
Right.
is he God or is he do the people view him as God?
And that's what Breeze says. So Breeze is like, well, the Steel Ministry, they say he's only a sliver of infinity. He's not infinity. He's not the all-knowing God. He's only a piece of it.
Okay, yeah. What I'm getting is the Lord Ruler is Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Honestly, that is a great representation.
That's what I'm getting from it. Is where he makes he's like, yeah, no, I'm God.
Yeah.
But he's just a dude.
And I forgot to mention this
who
too.
can't shit.
You know how we say, oh my God?
Yeah.
They say Lord Ruler as like a saying his name in vain.
Oh.
They're like Lord Ruler. Like that. It
Okay.
sounds corny. But
it does. Okay, well, if you're in the world, like I gotta put myself in this world.
Yeah.
If you're in the world and that's what they've always done, then yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Right, because when you're first reading the book, it jumps out at you. But literally, while you get to the part, like as you're reading more and more and more, it becomes so common that it's so natural. It's kind of cool how it works.
I like that.
And with a lot of fantasy books that have their own curse words, that's kind of how it always is. You have to get used to it.
And that's fine because it's like I am stepping out of my reality into this reality, so that's okay. I like that.
It's a cool little lore thing. Like they use his name in vain.
I like that.
Yeah. And
I also am headcanoning that the Lord Ruler can't shit.
Yeah. He can't shit.
He can't shit.
Why's that?
Well, that's like one of the things that like Kim Jong Un, like I don't know. I'm saying this from the movie The Interview, starring James Franco and Seth Rogen.
That's a throwback right there.
Is that Kim Jong Un tells his people he can't shit.
Yeah.
That is what I am viewing.
You know what? I actually agree with you. I don't think he can shit either.
I don't think he can shit.
He doesn't get that.
He doesn't poop.
He's not allowed.
Oh.
And after they have this little conversation, they're in this like not tavern, but they're in this like warehouse that has a bunch of ska that were invited because Kelsier ends up giving a speech. So we see the first bit of the plan where Kelsier's trying to rile up the ska, and Breeze has his own little crew of like soothers and rioters, which I didn't mention rioting, but rioting is zinc. So it's like it's brass soothes the emotions, riots, riles the emotions.
So it pisses you off.
It pisses you off,
So
but it also makes you more passionate. It makes you more.
I'm getting that zinc is
Zinc is coke.
cocaine.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'll agree with that. So Kelsier's
Is that a
giving.
bad thing that I'm like picturing these metals as drugs? Like I'm relating them to drugs in our real world?
I think that's cool actually, because
Yeah.
they kind of are a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's giving his speech to try to get Scott to join the rebellion. And after the speech, Kelsier ends up holding a progress meeting with the rest of the crew because, like I said, a few months have passed. And Marsh is there, and he says that he hasn't quite found a good way to infiltrate the Steel Ministry yet. So
So has he agreed at this
he
point?
has agreed. So he's agreed to try, but he's still struggling because, obviously, like you said, it's a hard cookie to crack.
It is that would
Yeah.
be I think the terminology is hard cookie to crumble, dude.
No. I crack my cookies.
You crack your cookies?
Yeah.
I crumble.
I see. That's the thing. Crumble cookies. I sometimes don't like them because they're too cakey. They're too crumbly.
Well,
I
I
like
think
my cookies hard.
I like them when they're like
No, I don't. What am I saying? Because I just had an image of a soft, gooey homemade cookie, and it made me
it
it
literally
made me literally come in my pants.
I actually creamed my jeans.
So maybe I have to take everything
I
back.
think it's one of those things where you said it and you didn't actually mean it.
Maybe what I need to do is when I get a crumble cookie, I need to put it in the microwave.
I think you need to put it in your pants after you put it in the microwave
That's an amazing
and
idea.
let it soothe.
Yes. Okay. We just had a revelation together. We just had a revelation. Um. Okay. It's anywho.
Anywho,
So and then Ham, he says that he has gathered under like 2,000 men. So he's already got like a good group of ska gathered these last few months. So that's what he's been doing.
okay.
He's been
Okay.
like getting ska and all that, and he's working on getting them weapons. And Kelsier suggests that they recruit some more in like the surrounding towns, so not just Luthadel. And then Yedin, who's their employer, he says that he's worried about the Lord Ruler catching on. He feels like maybe they need to back off a little bit. And um, suddenly, one of Ham's guards, because Ham, he used to be a part of the Luthadel garrison, and he has, like I said, Breeze has like a crew of soothers. Ham has like some guards that are not as, I guess, work for him because these are all like pretty high up in the thieving in like the ska thieves. Like these are the higher ups.
Okay.
So one of them comes in and says that Kamon's lair has just been raided by the Steel Ministry. And you remember Kamon's lair, that's where they had their first meeting.
I know that Kelsier beat Kamon's ass, but did he kill him?
He did not kill him. He only
So
beat his ass.
Kamon is still alive,
Kamon is still alive.
and he is probably at his lair.
Possibly.
Okay.
Although I feel like no, because Kelsier basically kicked him out and like was like, and so Kamon ended up going on the streets, I think, and became like homeless. But yeah,
So Kamon is
Kamon is alive though. Yes.
okay.
Now, I'm gonna give you another paragraph. So this is the next chapter. It seems Rashek represents a growing faction in Ferris culture. A large number of the youths think that their unusual powers should be used for more than fieldwork, husbandry, and stone carving. They are rowdy, even violent, far different from the quiet, discerning Ferris philosophers and holy men that I have known. They will have to be watched carefully, these terrace men. They could be very dangerous if given the opportunity and the motivation.
So the Ferris is also another race?
So Ferris is a um
Because he's speaking of the Ferris the same way he's speaking of the Rashek, which I now
the
know that
terrace men, yeah.
is Rashek a single person or is Rashek like a race of people?
Rashek is a person's name.
Oh, so
Rashek is a terraceman, which so is Sazed. He's the same race as Sazed.
okay, so Terracemen is the race.
Yeah.
And the Ferris are a race like
I think Ferris is their religion,
oh,
I believe.
okay.
Because it's like the Ferris philosophers. It's like it's a subsect of it's not a race or a people, it's like a subsect of philosophy or religion.
Okay.
But don't think too much on it.
Okay.
So they just learned Kamon's lair has been raided. Helsier, Vin, Doxon, and Sazed, they all go and inspect the lair, while Ham and his recruits secure the area. So inside, we see bodies scattered throughout, all appearing tortured and brutally killed.
In
and
Camone's lair?
in Camone's lair, which they soon assume and realize that this is definitely the work of an Inquisitor. And Kelsier says that this Inquisitor must still have been sent. So it's most likely the same Inquisitor that was following them way back in chapter 2.
How many months have passed?
A few. It's probably been like 3 months.
So this dude has been looking for her the whole time.
Either, yeah, or maybe just happened to have, like you finally find Camone's lair, realize like, oh, this is that one person from way back. You know what I mean?
I think he's been looking for her the whole time.
Yeah, or that too. Um, and Kelsier finds Camone's corpse, not at the lair. He finds it somewhere else. I think someone tells him or something. I can't quite remember. But he finds Camone's corpse bloodied and tortured, his wrist and ankles tied together while his body is hung from a hook rammed through his mouth and out of his neck. And Kelsier says that this type of death is used exclusively for those who misuse allomancy, signifying Camone most likely told the Inquisitor about Vin. So
So they
essentially,
killed Camone because
because
he had someone who used allomancy and
on the Lord Preland, yeah, on
yeah.
the Obligator, exactly. Uh,
Oh, so like it's like they hook him through the mouth.
yeah. So instead of hanging them, they hang them literally by a hook that goes through like behind their neck into their mouth, and they tie the wrist and ankles together. So it's pretty brutal.
It's giving me some Hellraiser shit.
Yeah, these Inquisitors are no joke. So anyways, Vin goes to her first ball.
Vin goes to her for that dude got horrifically
Yeah.
destroyed, brutally murdered. And anyways, Vin's at the ball.
Yeah. So she's with Sazed, who's acting as her steward. So he's pretending to be basically what he is.
A butler.
Yeah. So Vin's initially overwhelmed because she's never done anything like this. She's always been very, inside herself, very timid, traumatized, and she's literally having to open up and pretend to be a noble woman.
Yeah, I'm getting like 16-year-old goth traumatized girl.
Yeah.
And she is now being forced to be high and tidy fucking
Oh yeah.
pretty
She's
princess
always lived on the streets. That's
valley
her
girl.
life, and now she has to pretend to be this uppity woman.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yep.
I feel for her.
Yeah.
I feel cringed for her.
Yes. And kind of to help herself, she realizes that these nobles, they're not seeing her for who she actually is.
How does I want to know, how does Vin feel? Like, how does her character feel? Does she feel like this is something that she's passionate about, or is something she's just kind of doing out of like obligation to the man who saved her?
So, yeah, so I wasn't able to obviously talk about a lot about her and Kelsier's conversations up to this point, but they've discussed that a lot. So Kelsier even Kelsier ends up giving her the 3,000 boxings that Camone got from that Lord Prince. He literally gives them to her. He's like, here's these 3,000 boxings. You deserve it. You feel free to leave the crew with them and live a life. Like you can live a life with these on your own. You don't have to do this with us. And she ends up reaching a point where she's like, no, I want to help you guys, not just because you help me, but because I want to do this for myself. I want to help the ska. I want to give people a life better than what I had. So she
Okay.
has reached a point where she is doing this also for herself.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in it. I'm in it.
exactly. She's eating. She's eating dinner.
She's eating.
She's eating, and Vin actually sees her father there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Does he wouldn't recognize her. He's like they don't
right,
have a relationship.
right.
So
He probably hasn't seen her since she was like a baby.
but does she recognize him?
She does. She knows this. She knows who her father is. I would assume probably because of her brother and mother, like pointing him out.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and he's a Lord Preland. So what these obligators do is, like I said, they're like the religion and the law. So if a noble wants to make a deal, they act as like witnesses. So they'll be like, obligator, come here.
Okay, so it's like in the real world when you like have to go get like what's that called? Like if you're like selling your car title, you have to have someone like from like a bank or something like put a witness stamp on
Yeah,
it saying like I
yeah,
was there and saw them sign the paper.
yeah. So like if a noble's like, I if so and so does this, I will sell them this, and you are my witness, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Anywho, so I'm just throwing it out there. Vin sees her dad there. And after a little while, uh, Vin, she's eating, she's kind of soaking it all in. She ends up getting a little overwhelmed and she retreats to the balcony for a break. So she goes up to this balcony and she meets a boy named Elend.
Elend?
Elend, Elend. And he's reading. He's at this ball and he's just up at a balcony reading by himself. He doesn't care about anything.
What does he look like?
Oh no. So it doesn't give like a full description of his appearance.
Is he blonde?
No, he has brown hair.
Ah,
So his clothes, they seem to fit too loosely, and his dark brown hair is a bit disheveled. And they have a conversation and they actually bond a little bit. They talk about how they're both bad dancers. And Ellen says that he actually doesn't like House Venture, which is where they're having this ball at. Yeah, he's like, I don't like this. I don't like balls. I just want to keep to myself. Yeah, he doesn't like, you,
I don't like
I don't
balls.
like balls.
I'm very much straight. I promise.
Yeah.
He's not straight. I don't believe him.
Yes, they're sure.
He
Yeah,
definitely, that was
he's
compensation.
compensating too
He
much.
likes balls.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
we all like balls.
I mean, I like balls.
I have them and I want to keep them because
Yeah.
I love them.
I like going to the biggest of balls and hanging out with them.
They're hurting now because we're talking about them.
Nice. Anyways, what is
After the
this?
party,
Yeah.
after the party, Vin, she tells Sazed about her conversation with this Elend, and Sazed's like, Elend Venture, the son of Lord Venture. So this Elend that Vin was talking to, who was talking about how he hates House Venture and he's just off by himself, he's actually the son and the heir to House Venture. So Sazed's a little concerned, and he's like, "You need to watch out for that boy." So
I'm
Kelsey,
getting like, okay, never mind. Go ahead. I've got thoughts. That's
okay.
all.
Kelsier and Vin discuss the ball, and Kelsier ends up leaving, but Vin secretly follows. And she discovers, which they're in Felice, so they're outside Luthadel now. They went back to Felice, and that's where Vin and Kelsier are discussing this ball. But Kelsier leaves, it's night, he leaves, and Vin follows him, and she discovers the Metal Pin Roadway. So there's this roadway, these roadways that are like between cities, and they can really only be used by Mistborn. Essentially, they're like, if you think of a railroad, how it's, the metal rungs, it's like metal ingots, I guess, but really thick ones that are like dispersed.
So you could
Um,
like fly yourself
so you
across?
can push off them, pull towards them. Yeah, so you can literally like attack on Titan across them really fast if you have access to the magic.
Okay.
So they're like these little
So it's like an
roadways.
underground railroad system, but for only the Mistborn.
Exactly. So Vin discovers Kelsier using this, and she follows him.
So she is also Attack on Titaning across.
Yeah.
Like she's trained enough. She has like some abilities now.
Yes, she has. Yeah, she's gotten a lot better. In fact, she's a bit of a what's the word? We're like a savant, or like somebody who catches on really easily. A prodigy.
Yeah, she's a natural born.
She's a natural
Mistborn.
born Mistborn.
Absolute.
So Kelsier ends up catching Vin, realizing that she's following him, and this is while he's studying Keep Venture. So he's kind of like perched up like Batman on a roof, like looking out at Keep Venture. And Vin, he notices Vin, and he tells her about Atium. So Atium, which I've already brought up a couple times,
Yeah,
this
it's like the super
rare
metal.
metal. So Atium is one of the ways that the Lord Ruler controls the nobles, because he allows them to buy a monthly stipend. So
Stipend?
a monthly amount, yeah, it just means like a noble house is allowed to buy this much ATM per month. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's like a cap.
Exactly. So um he ends up letting Vin swallow a piece of ATM because he stole that safe from
Oh,
Lord Venture. So he lets her swallow it just so she can see what it does.
I don't like that, dude. I like Kelsier, but if you just gave me a drug and said, "Yeah, swallow it, see what it does," I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, tell me what it does before I fucking ingest this. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, he might have told her before she swallowed it. I actually don't remember, but I get the concern.
I'm I'm like, dude,
Yeah, and also the buying and selling of ATM is nearly impossible. Like the Lord Ruler keeps big tabs on it. Like this is his metal. No one else is allowed to buy and sell it but him. He owns the pits. He owns the mines. So just throwing that out there. So she swallows a piece, and she learns that ATM is used when you swallow it and when you burn it. You can see the immediate future of people around you. So and for example, so if I swallowed atium, I would be able to see what your actions were. So if we were in a fight and I burned atium, I would be able to see where you were going to hit me next. Or
How does that work?
so you essentially see the future self acting at the same time as the current self.
That is insane. That's an insane visual to
It is insane.
conceptualize.
So essentially, if I burn atium and I looked at you, I would see your future self doing whatever you were going to do on top of your present self.
Okay, so it's not like time pauses and you see a
No,
future.
the future is happening at the same time as the present.
That is gnarly.
It is.
Okay.
Um, so
Is that all it does?
yeah. So
You gave me a little smirk.
yeah, that's all it does.
You're lying to me.
Now it only lasts for a short amount of time.
You're lying to me.
It,
Okay.
it
It
only
only lasts for a short amount of time.
Yeah, so like most of the metals, I'm pretty sure tin is the one. Like each of the metals have a certain amount of time that they last. I think tin lasts the longest when you burn it, but atium's the shortest. So if you eat atium, like it goes quick because of how powerful it is, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to counter atium is if you both swallow atium. So if you burn atium and then I realize you're burning atium and I burn it too, then we both see a bunch of jumbled versions of our future mingling and they essentially counter each other because since I know your future, my future is predicted on me knowing your future. But since you know my future, your future is predicted on knowing my future. So we both know each other's future. Therefore, the futures
It
cannot.
sounds like that's like a good way to fuck up the timeline.
Well, yeah, I guess you're not like
I
going
feel
back
like
in
I
time
feel
or
like
anything.
no, I know, but I'm saying I feel like you can I feel like because obviously we're being introduced to this concept and I'm already seeing possibilities of this being used to like fuck with like I don't know, like not the timeline, I guess, but like the natural order, I guess.
I guess, but like it is only the immediate future, like the only like literally like the next few seconds. So like you're not seeing what someone is gonna do the next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you can't like
but I'm wondering like if it's only a few seconds, is that only a few seconds continuously until the effect of the ATM goes away, or is that just like
so you're watching the other person um like basically 5 seconds ahead of time while the whole time you're burning ATM. So you're seeing them at the same time as their present self.
okay?
Yeah.
I think I'm tracking.
Okay. I hope I'm explaining it. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. Um So after Kelsier explains what ATM does and she uses it, he tells her that he is planning to sneak into the Lord Ruler's palace tonight. He wanted to do it alone. And the Lord Ruler's palace, by the way, is called Credit Shaw.
Predick Shaw.
It's just the name of his
I like
palace.
that name.
Yeah, Credit Shaw. Um, because he wants to find a clue. He wants to find a clue on how to defeat him, and he essentially was going to do like this operative this stealth mission by himself, but Finn followed him. He's like, I feel like you're ready to do this with me. He's like, this is purely stealth. We're not going there to kill the Lord Ruler. We just need to find a clue. So she goes with him. And before they go, though, Kelsier does tell Vin a little bit about the last time he was at Credit Shaw, which, if you remember, that was when he was captured with his wife and sent to the pits. And he was trying to get into this room within the palace that is actually a room within a room. And it's a little weird to say, but essentially, if you walked into a room and then you saw like, if you walked into like this big warehouse and then there was like a house in the middle of it, that's kind of what the description is. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So it's not like a warehouse and house, but it's a room within a room. And this room, the Lord Ruler visits once every 3 days for 3 hours. And Kelsier never figured out why. So he wants to go there to see if he can figure out this piece that he feels like is the missing piece. And when he went there the last time, the Lord Ruler and his inquisitors had been waiting for him. But Kelsier knows that tonight is not one of the nights that the Lord Ruler should be in there. So he's like, I wanted to do it tonight. Let's go.
Kelsier is a G.
He is a G.
He's got like all of this shit wrapped up in his head, and he's got the plans, he's got the motions.
Yeah, dude came into this prepared. Like
Okay.
he's been at it.
I mean, his wife did die as a direct consequence of
Yeah,
this.
he
So
obviously wants revenge.
yeah,
Um, and when they
it's also an interesting parallel because the last time he came with a woman who was his wife and she died, and now
yeah,
he's like, he wasn't planning on going in with Vin, but now she is kind of there, and he's like, "Yeah, you're ready." But I'm wondering, is she actually ready, or is it
Mm.
like his like subconscious, like, I don't know. I'm getting parallels, and I'm curious.
Yeah, I like where you're heading. And also, I'm sure you've probably realized this, but Kelsier, as you're reading the book, you realize he's kind of like a father figure to Vin.
Yeah.
He's a very
So it's almost like his daughter instead of his wife.
exactly. Um, so they get to the palace, and Vin notices she feels off. Her emotions feel very dampened and negative. Kelsier says it's because of the Lord Ruler's aura. Bro has an immense aura. So
Is aura an actual thing?
no, that was just my description. But I'll read you a quote, make it less confusing. So he radiates like an incredibly powerful soother, smothering the emotions of everyone who gets close to him. Turn on your copper; it will keep you immune. So the Lord Ruler's such a powerful allomancer that his soothing literally always radiates around him, dampening the s- soothing, but not like in a good way. It's literally making people depressed around him at all times.
So he's top dog, king
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. And they end up getting through the palace, but some guards notice them, and Vin ends up killing 4 guards on accident. But this is the first time she's ever killed anybody.
How does she take that?
It honestly stuns her for a second, but they're like it's such a
They don't have
they
time,
don't have
so she
time.
doesn't have time to
She's like, oh,
process it.
she's like, Lord Ruler. I don't know if she actually says that, but she's like, oh my god, I just
Ugh.
killed. Yeah,
Lord Ruler.
Lord Ruler.
Is that you?
Yeah, because I think what happens is she like flings these coins. And by the way, if you use steel to push a coin, you're literally like shooting a bullet because it's such a light object.
Yeah,
You can push it so
I
fast.
can imagine that.
So when you fling these coins, like, and they just stab into you. So she does that. She flings all these coins, and they just kill these
I
four
like that
guards.
noise you made with your mouth.
Yeah, thanks. I can do a lot of things with my mouth.
Oh, what?
So they end up getting to the room within the room, and they walk in, and I know this sounds like they did it super easily, but obviously there's a lot of build up to this.
Yeah.
So they get into the room, but when they get into the room, there's an inquisitor waiting inside. Not just any inquisitor,
The Inquisitor.
the inquisitor that has been tracking Vin the
He knew.
whole
He knew,
book.
dude.
Somehow he knew. And by the way, they've been burning copper the whole time, which hides
So,
their allomancy.
yeah.
And so you wonder like what's going on. So they're essentially cornered because 2 more inquisitors come out from behind. So there's 3 inquisitors, which are 3 insanely powerful mistborn creatures that no one knows how to kill against Vin and Kelsier.
So are the Steel Inquisitors, they are Mistborns?
They have access. They seem to be able, like nobody really knows, but they seem to be able to use all the metals. They have shown instances of using all the metals. So
I'm
yes,
wondering if they're like not genetically modified, but I'm wondering if they're like bred.
yeah.
I'm wondering if like there's like a thing that the Lord Ruler is doing to like produce these people.
I see. It's good thoughts. Good thoughts. So Kelsier ends up forcing Vin to run because he like throws a piece of metal against, or I forget what he does, but he literally pushes her across the room. He like flings her across the room to get her out of the way, and he's like run. So she ends up swallowing. So she ends up running, and the ATM that Kelsier gave her, she ends up swallowing the rest of it because he gave her a little bit of extra. So she ends up swallowing the rest of this ATM as the Inquisitor is chasing her, the one who's been tracking her, and she gets cornered into one of the rooms of the palace. And this is like seems to be like some religious room. And as the Inquisitor is about to, um, I think he throws metal at her, but since she burned ATM, she could see what he's about to do. She grabs this leather bound book and she uses it as like a shield. So the metal like stabs or flings off the book or stabs into the book. And the Inquisitor is like, what? How did you know I was going to do that? So then all of a sudden he burns ATM. And then Vin's like, wait, he has ATM too. And so they're having like this big chase sequence throughout the palace. And all of a sudden, a second Inquisitor surprises Vin and stabs her in the stomach with an obsidian blade.
Oh no.
And as he stabs her, he's like, who is your father? So she then literally like flings herself out of the balcony window, still clutching this leather-bound book, and she pulls herself to the roof she pulls herself with iron onto the roof, and she's constantly burning pewter to literally stay conscious, because she's using pewter to not feel the pain and to be able to like stay awake. Basically, she's using it to stay conscious, and she's using copper to conceal her allomancy. But even though she's using copper, the Inquisitors are still on her trail. And then, like, as she's on the roof, she feels like all hope is lost. An Inquisitor is approaching her, and then out of nowhere, someone grabs her in their arms and jumps off the roof with her, and the chapter ends.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wonder who jumped off.
that's the question. And I'm gonna give you another one of these little paragraphs.
Okay.
I don't know why Quan betrayed me.
Juan.
Even still, this event haunts my thoughts. He was the one who discovered me. He was the terrace He was the. Oh, you know what? When I said Ferris, I meant to say Terrace. I just
Terrace.
realized that it was not Ferris; it was Terrace,
Terrace.
which is the Terrace religion, which is the religion of the Terracemen.
Okay.
That was my mistake.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, my fault. He was the Terrace philosopher who first called me the hero of ages. It seems ironic. It seems ironically surreal that now, after his long struggle to convince his colleagues, he is the only major Terrace holy man to preach against my reign. Definitely not the Lord Ruler.
Nah, it is Lord Ruler.
All right, next chapter. Okay. So we cut to Kelsier back at Club's shop, and he's like distraught. He escaped the Inquisitors. He's told the crew what's happened. They're all literally like yelling at him. They're like, "Dude, why would you take Vin to Credit Shaw? Like, she wasn't ready. Why were you even there in the first place?" And he's angry and ashamed of himself. Like, he's like,
I mean, that's essentially what I thought was going to happen.
yeah, he's like, I made the same mistake twice.
Yeah, it was the same thing he did with his wife.
Yeah.
Although they didn't get captured this time, so it was a little
True.
bit better of an outcome. However, is Vin still missing with that random?
In this moment, yes.
Okay.
But suddenly, Sazed enters, holding Vin in his arms. So when they were in Felice and Vin went to follow Kelsier, Sazed basically discovered she was gone, and he immediately started following her, and he tracked them down to Credit Shaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sazed.
But
Sazed,
how did he get there so fast? Because they were using the metal pins in the roadway. So how did Sazed get there fast?
My theory, Sazed is the Lord Ruler.
Yeah. That's a theory. That is a theory. So Sazed is operating on Vin. He's a smart man. He's operating on Vin, and he says that this leather-bound book that she literally was still clutching is written in the language of Clenium, which is this ancient pre-ascension homeland of the Lord Ruler. And he's like,
Pre-ascension.
Pre-ascension is before the Lord Ruler's reign. So like pre-ascension time is like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And he's like, I should be able to translate this. So maybe this whole trip into Credit Shaw wasn't useless. And Kelsier explains to Doxson that he was just trying to see if the ATM was really there, because he feels like the Lord Ruler is hiding something, because they know that the Lord Ruler has this ATM. He has all this ATM, but they don't know where it's at in the palace.
They do know about that room though. Did they get into the room?
They as they got like opened, they never got into the room within a room. Or maybe they did. Yeah, they did, but there was an Inquisitor waiting, so they didn't really get to like inspect it.
Yeah.
They immediately dipped. And I wanted to kind of give you this quote about the Lord Ruler, that just to kind of explain like how menacing and like ominous he is. Men have tried everything. He ignores normal wounds, and decapitation only annoys him. A group of soldiers burned down his inn during one of the early wars. The Lord Ruler walked out as barely more than a skeleton, then healed in a matter of seconds.
Dude, that actually just gave me the visual. Have you seen the original Hellraiser?
I've not.
The visual of Frank Cotton in that movie, he's basically like nothing. And he starts forming as a human, but like he doesn't fully form. He like forms into like a mass of muscles.
Yeah.
But like you see him go from nothing but bones, and you see like all of his muscles start regrowing onto his body.
Yeah.
And it is one of the coolest visuals in any horror movie I've ever seen. And that's what I'm picturing right now.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I actually see that. So they're all talking. And Kelsier's like, he still believes the 11th metal is the key, but he needs to figure out how to use it. That's the end of part 2.
He still hasn't told us what the 11th medal is, though.
Yeah, they don't even know what
Come
it
on,
is.
Kelsey. Just tell me what I want to know what it is.
Yeah, I know.
Kelsey,
Well, he doesn't even know how to use it yet. He just believes in this legend about it. He's like,
but
he's almost grasping for straws here.
yeah, so he doesn't know what it
He
does.
doesn't know
He
what it
doesn't know
does.
what it does.
No, he
Okay.
doesn't.
I'll cut him a little bit of slack.
Yeah. See, he's prepared, but there's still a lot of room for him to figure
I mean,
things out.
it sounds like Kelsier is that character who he's wise, he's old, he knows a lot, but he also is going up against something greater than him and is literally putting the lives of other people at stake because he wants revenge so bad that like you said, he's grasping at straws. Things that don't mean anything could mean something to him because he is trying so hard to find something.
Yeah, that honestly, the fact that you said that he's almost like using the people around him, it's kind of like
With Vin, I'm getting more of, like you said, like a father-daughter relationship. I feel like he cares about Vin more than the other people, but the other people, like even his own brother,
yeah.
like you said, Marsh, like he literally is asking him to go into like territory
See,
where he's probably going to die.
here's the thing with Kelsier. He loves all the members of the crew he's known for a long time. He loves all of them. But yes, he has a tendency to be very
I'm not
he
saying
almost forgets he almost not that he's using them, but he is putting them in harm's way, and it's almost on the edge of selfishness in some
yeah,
areas.
I still get the vibe that he cares about everyone. But what I'm getting is that like the revenge is the most important thing of all to
Yeah,
him.
like it's almost eating him apart
Yeah,
to a point. Yeah.
that's what I'm getting.
And now we enter part 3.
Part 3, dude.
Children of a Bleeding Sun.
Let's freaking get into it.
So, 2 weeks have passed since Vin had that dramatic stab in the tummy, and she wakes up with the immediate thought that her brother had beaten her again. So
That's
the
sad.
trauma comes back.
That's
Yeah,
sad.
she wakes up and she immediately thinks she just got beaten by her brother. So and she ends up, getting up and having a few more days of rest, and then she returns to Felice. So she wakes up in Club Shop, and she returns to Felice, and she speaks with Sazed, and kind of asks him, about him rescuing her. And when she sees him, he's working on translating the leather-bound book
Mhm.
that she recovered, and he's wearing glasses, which I'm only bringing that up because of something that comes up later, but he usually doesn't wear glasses. Anywho, he ends up telling her through conversation that he actually knows over 172 languages.
Oh, man's fluent.
Yeah, and so to kind of explain why he's such a scholar, he he has metal minds and
Metal mines.
metal minds.
Metal mines or
Yes,
metal mines?
minds.
Mines.
Yep. And these he you know how I said he has a bunch of jewelry?
Mm-hmm.
He literally stores knowledge in metal.
Whoa.
He stores knowledge in metal, and he is a keeper of Terrace, which I said Ferris earlier, but he's a keeper
It's
of
the
Terrace.
religion.
His religion, and the keepers of Terrace are a major branch of feruchemists.
Feruchemists?
Feruchemists
That's actually a fire word.
who have passed down forgotten knowledge of old from within metal mines. So he is essentially a keeper of knowledge that was lost pre-ascension. So the Lord Ruler, you know how you like said he was Kim Jong Un? Yeah, he basically has been keeping knowledge from the people of the past, and the keepers of Terrace are this secret sect of Terrace men who have passed down these metal mines that store knowledge from pre-ascension.
Without the Lord Ruler's knowledge.
Yeah, because they're hunted by the Lord Ruler. If the Lord Ruler found out he was a keeper of Terrace, he would be killed.
So this is, you said Sazed?
Sazed.
Sazed.
Yeah.
Sazed. This is Sazed, who is the keeper of Terrace.
Yes.
Okay.
He's the one who is the steward. He's pretending to be.
Yep.
Yeah,
He was the one that like trained her on how to be a lady.
exactly. And I mentioned he was wearing glasses, and
He doesn't normally wear
he
glasses.
doesn't normally wear glasses, and he is filling a tin mine. And honestly, I'm going to come back to this.
Are they like little metal balls that like?
It's jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
So like he always has jewelry on.
earrings, bracelets. Yes,
So he wears a lot of
a
jewelry.
lot of jewelry. He's decked out.
So, okay, my question is that eventually, in this grand scheme of time, there will come a time when you can't wear all of the jewelry that exists. So does like he have to choose what he wants to know?
Yes, he does. Well, the thing is the metal mines he has were passed down to him.
Oh, okay. So it's not like he has all of the metal mines. He just has the ones that his
His metal mine,
previous.
yeah, because his thing is religions. So he has all the religious metal mines, right? Remember how I say he knows over
Oh,
like 500 and something religions?
yeah.
Like he has other metal mines with other information. Like I said, he knows a bunch of languages, but he mainly prioritizes religions.
Okay.
And he, I'll come back to what ferrochemistry is because he's a ferrochemist. I'll come back to what that is. So Sazed kind of further explains the keepers of Terrace, and he says that all Terracemen's stewards are eunuchs, whether or not they're a keeper of Terrace or not, because
So they don't like balls either.
they don't like balls either. That's so true.
They
Yeah,
anti-balls.
yeah, he has no balls. I'll give you a little quote of what Sazed says about his race. My people are less than slaves. They're fabricated automatons created by breeding programs, trained from birth to fulfill the Lord Ruler's wishes.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that is literally what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Is that he's like creating these people.
Yeah.
And
So
Sazed is saying that his people are the ones who are being created?
so his race is not created by the Lord Ruler, but it has been essentially, you know how like dogs have been
Bred
bred to be
and
less than what they
trained.
used to be.
Yes, because like a wolf is like a,
Yeah.
like this creature that roams the woods and lives its own life, and you have a pug that
Yes.
can't breathe.
So the Lord Ruler has kind of done that to his race. And he's
It's
essentially bred them to be the perfect servants.
of his own race, of the Lord Ruler's race.
No, the Lord Ruler, we don't know what his race is. He's just saying that's what the Lord Ruler has done to the Terrace men.
Oh, so the Terrace men are the ones that have been essentially turned into like
Yeah, the perfect servant.
yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
And do
I know
we
that
know what race the Steel
Inquisitors are.
the Steel Inquisitors are?
They're not Terracemen. Terracemen are, as far as we know, the only other race. So everyone else that I've mentioned so far is just a normal.
Do they look different? Like, do they have like because like a human and an orc look
They
really
look,
different?
yeah. I mean, honestly, they don't look like a different build. They look very different because of their metal spikes and tattoos. But that's really it. Like
So
usually, like they're actually they are pretty tall. Like they're pretty built.
so Terracemen. Okay.
Terracemen look very different.
So I would. Okay. Well, what are the?
Okay, so
Do they
remember,
look like creatures or do they look humanoid?
so remember when I said so they have like long arms, they have a very willowy body. They're very like a thin face. Like they don't look like aliens.
I'm
But
getting like high elf.
yeah, that's a good way to think of it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like our normal cast is like they're all humans, is what I'm assuming.
They are.
They're all humans, and then the terrace men are kind of like high elves, like really lanky. Like
Yes.
they still humanoid. They look human, but they just
Yes.
have like disproportionate attributes that are because of their race.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay. Because you say because like if I'm putting it into the like D&D setting, like a big fantasy setting, when I hear a different race, I'm thinking of like an orc or like a dragonborn,
Right.
like these creatures. You know what I mean?
Not the case.
So like everyone is still pretty humanoid. They're just kind of like the differences is like an elf versus a human.
Yes. And
Okay.
honestly, the Terracemen they're a bit of an anomaly because of the fact that there's really not any other races but the humans and the Terracemen.
Okay.
And they ended up having talking a little bit more, and Kelsier comes up because of the last trip he took with Mare, sorry. And Sazed tells
You
Vin
know what
that,
mare means in French?
what does it mean?
It means shit.
Aw, poor Mare. Speaking of Mare, Sazed tells Vin that she is most likely the reason that they were sent to the pits because she may or may not have betrayed Kelsier. And
Wait, whoa.
yeah, and most of the crew also thinks this.
They think that Mare betrayed Kelsier?
Yeah.
What does Kelsier think?
Kelsier thinks that it could be true, but he almost doesn't want to believe it.
That makes sense. I would understand him.
Yeah. Because they were both sent to the pits, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, if she also got sent to the pits, why would she have betrayed him unless she was also betrayed?
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think she betrayed him.
Okay. So 4 weeks pass of Vin literally still recovering. And she ends up literally just being bored out of her mind, and she convinces Kelsier to finally allow her to go to the next ball. And Kelsier shows Vin, because they're having this conversation, and Kelsier shows Vin a picture of a flower that used to be his wife's. This used to be his wife's picture. And literally, flowers are nobody who's alive during this time has ever seen a flower because the world is covered in ash. Vegetation is literally all brown. The world is devoid of color. Everything, like the trees are brown, the plants are brown, everything's devoid of color. So Vin sees this picture. She's like, "What is that?" He's like, "It's a flower." She's like, "What?"
That's a crazy thought.
It is. And it's come up where like people are like, "Yeah, the grass used to be green." And people are like, "That'd be so
So the world was normal and it has divulged into this post-apocalyptic
Yes,
world.
at one point.
It hasn't always been post-apocalyptic.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it used to be before the Lord Ruler came into power.
I gotcha.
And then Vin brings up Mare. She's like, "Wait, so did Mare betray you?" And Kelsier, um, I'll give you this quote that he says. Let me see. I think given the choice between loving Mare, betrayal included, and never knowing her, I choose love. I risked and I lost, but the risk was still worth it. It's the same with my friends. Suspicion is healthy in our profession, but only to an extent. I'd rather trust my men than worry about what will happen if they turn on me. So
Ah.
Kelsier basically like,
Kelsier's got the mindset of it's better to love and lost
yeah.
than never have loved at all.
And he's like, she probably did betray me, because he ends up being like, um, I think he is either brought up later or now, but when they got into the room within a room, the Lord Ruler was waiting for them, and the Lord Ruler literally thanked Mare for bringing them there.
Did they saw the Lord Ruler?
Yeah.
Oh, so did we get a description of what he looked like?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We will, though. And then Kelsier explains that when he saw Mare die at the pits of Hathsin, he snapped. And this is where we learn what brings about allomantic power. So allomancy only shows after a traumatic event happens. So you have to have noble blood to be able to have allomancy, but you also have to snap in order for it to awaken.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And I'll give you this other quote. The philosophers say a man can't command the metals until he has seen death and rejected it.
That's fire.
Yeah.
But that makes sense because Vin was clearly traumatized by her brother, so
Yes.
we know why.
At some point she snapped.
Is it like this big moment? Is it like this like awakening moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this too. I feel like it comes up later in the book, but it doesn't necessarily spoil anything. But nobles literally purposely traumatize their children to try to get them to snap so that their children can have allomancy.
And Vin had a noble father.
Yeah, she did. Now, that didn't happen to her.
Oh.
She snapped for a different reason, but
Well-
we'll get to that.
Okay, so we will get a reason why her brother was a piece of shit.
Well, we'll get a reason why she snapped. Might not be her brother, but yeah, there will be more about her brother.
I think it's her brother. Following it.
And we cut to Vin attending a ball.
Dude,
She
loves
just
her
dancing.
balls, dude.
She does.
Actually,
Seiza wishes he could love his balls.
I just remembered she's 16. I'm retracting my statement.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least you remembered. That
Mhm.
means you're tracking.
Yeah, I'm tracking. And she hates balls.
She hates balls. Just to make sure this is stated. So she's at a ball at Keep Alarial, and I know I'm throwing all these names at you. It's okay if you don't remember, but these are the great houses, the nobles' names. And as she's seated at her table, Ellen sits down, uninvited, and just throws a stack of books down and just starts reading at her table.
Ellen, which is the boy she likes.
The boy that is
who also hates balls.
And who's the heir of House Venture.
Yeah, he hates Venture's balls.
Exactly. And she brings it up to him. She's like, "Wait, so you're a Venture?" And he talks about how his family disapproves of him, and he ends up getting up for a drink, and Sazed tells Vin that he thinks Elend is using Vin to get back at his father. And so when he comes back, they make conversation, but Vin actually believes Elend is genuine. She trusts him, which is interesting because Vin, her thing is she's very
untrusting.
But
I think she's trusting incorrectly.
So
I disapprove, Vin.
Vin ends up accepting several invitations to dance because she needs to actually do the job. She needs to mingle with the nobles. She needs to find out what's going on. She needs to learn information. And when she returns to her table, she notices one of Ellen's books and sees that it criticizes the Lord Ruler, which, like I said, the Lord Ruler is very, um, like the information of the world is very much, uh, I guess, what's the word? Information is very monitored. So the fact that Ellen has a book that criticizes the Lord Ruler is odd because they're essentially like that would be illegal if somebody found that. So as villain is villain as Vin is
Vin.
inspecting this
Whoa,
book,
was that a slip up?
a noble lady named Shan Ilarial, who is part of the Ilarial house that this ball is taking place in. Shan Ilarial, who we learn Ellen is actually engaged to, which
Oh,
yeah, which not his choice.
how does Vin feel about that?
Yeah, well, it was Ellen says that it's not his choice. It was like a marriage setup to join the houses. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it was a forced
I'm getting it.
forced marriage.
But I'm saying, like, how does Vin feel finding out that this boy she's into is.
Yeah, so she talks to Shan Ilarial because Shan like is in this group and Vin's trying to make conversation. And Shan Ilarial is just she's the worst. Like she talks down to Vin. She treats her like nothing. She's telling her that Ellen is using her.
Mean girl.
Yeah, mean girl. And she's like she's basically saying Vin should get used to being used. And
Ugh.
she implies that she wants to use Vin herself.
Icky.
Yeah. But Vin notices that Shan is using allomancy and she is soothing Vin's emotions.
Ooh, how does she know?
She knows because of first of all, like if you can also use allomancy, you can sometimes feel when it's being used on you.
Ah, that makes sense because, like,
Yeah,
they were talking about, like, the king's aura.
right. And she could also use bronze, which reveals allomancy. So, but I think the way she finds out is she can feel the soothing happening to her because she's gotten so used to understanding it. So she realizes that Shan is a soother. And as she's talking to Shan, she notices that Shan's steward or terraceman is at Vin's table inspecting Ellen's books. So Vin's like, "Oh, gotta go," and and Ellen comes back, and Vin's at the table and basically shoos the steward away. And Ellen grabs his books and ends up leaving, joining two other young men. And Sazed remarks and says that it's odd that Ellen is doing this because the men that he's walking off with are rivals to House Venture. So it seems like Ellen is talking and being in conjunction with some people that should be enemies to his house, but he seems like he doesn't even like his own family, right?
Yeah, I was getting that though, because he said that he hates his family, or
Yeah,
not his family, but he hates the house.
exactly. So just making a note of that. Next chapter. Kelsier. We open I say Kelsier because it's spelled with an IE as opposed to EE, but I think it's pronounced Kelsier. So if I ever say either one,
I like Kelsier more.
Kelsier.
Kelsier.
Yeah. So I don't know because when you're reading, it's just kind of up to you.
Well, Kelsier just sounds weird to me, but
Yeah,
Kelsier,
Kelsier.
Kelsier.
Yeah, that's what I said when I read it.
I
So
like Kelsier.
yeah, um,
It gives it more of a because it's like it's like a flow to it versus just Kelsier. It's like
yeah,
Kelsier.
yeah, I agree. He is. It's night, and he's sowing discord between the noble houses by he kills one of the nobles, and he leaves his murdered body of this important noble in the garden of one of the noble houses to kind of either frame them or send a message. So while Vin is within the nobles trying to figure things out, Kelsier's on the outside doing things like he stole the ATM from the safe.
Yep.
He leaves the murdered body.
Yeah, basically, he's off doing missions while Vin is
Yeah.
infiltrating.
And he ends up meeting up with a street informant to kind of see if there's any rumors about House Renault to make sure that the alias is still safe. And it is. The street informant doesn't have any rumors that seem to that say anything about their secret. And then Kelsier poses as a street informant himself and talks to Lord Venture. And Lord Venture asks Kelsier about the survivor. And we learn that Lord Venture there's apparently rumors going around that the survivor is building a rebellion. And
The survivor.
That's what Kelsier is known as because he's the only one who's ever survived the pits.
You're right. I
So
remember.
they call him the survivor. So he's literally a legend himself. But there's rumors going around that he's building a rebellion and that he has this 11th medal.
He is. Those are both.
Yes,
They're not rumors. They're true.
Yeah, those are true. So Kelsier ends up coming back to Felice, and him, Vin, and Sazed discuss the ball, and they bring up who Ellen left with, the fact that Ellen was talking to these other two, and Kelsier believes Vin is falling for Ellen, and he reminds her that he's a noble, he cannot be trusted. So he's kind of trying to hammer this into Vin, be like, no, he's a noble, don't go down that route, don't trust him, do your job.
I'm just going to say W. Kelsier.
Yeah.
Vin is not being smart.
And we have another paragraph here. It isn't a shadow. This dark thing that follows me, the thing that only I can see. It isn't really a shadow. It's blackish and translucent, but it doesn't have a shadow like a solid outline. It's insubstantial, wispy and formless, like it's made out of a dark fog. Or mist, perhaps.
That one was that was an interesting one because that one it didn't sound like it was coming from Lord Ruler.
So Vin returns to Felice, and she notices that weapons and supplies are being shipped, and they're being sent to the caves because at this point they've actually built up a good amount of ska, and they've been sending them to these caves to basically hide out.
Do we know how many at this point?
We don't know yet. It doesn't necessarily say, but I think we'll get to that. And Kelsier and Yedin are actually going to go on this.
I fucking hate that guy's name.
Yeah, Yedin. Kelsier and Yedin are going to be going on with this shipment to go check on the ska and to see how the progress is going. And Marsh is at Felice, and him and Vin have a little conversation, and Marsh kind of does his own little training session with Vin to kind of teach her a little bit more about bronze.
Yeah.
And we learned that Marsh's old nickname used to be Iron Eyes.
Iron Eyes?
Iron Eyes because of because of how well he was, how good he used bronze to reveal allomancy. Like they called him Iron Eyes, but they stopped calling him that because of how much it resembled the Steel Inquisitors. So he's not called that anymore. It's like his old nickname.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see the correlation. If he's good at using bronze, why wouldn't he be Bronze Eyes?
Well, I feel like it was more so like because Iron Eyes is a term outside of allomancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when someone has Iron Eyes, it's like they could see through your soul.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that was the idea. You know what I mean? But I guess you're right because in this term, yeah, like iron has a specific ability. So that's yeah. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just more of a little tidbit.
It's fine. This book's just dog shit.
Yeah. That ruined the whole story.
I actually hate this entire. We're canceling this episode of the podcast.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I'm throwing you out the window.
Okay, good. Hey, I've learned how to use allomancy, so I'll be fine.
Have you really?
In the last 2 hours, yeah. Anyways. Marsh is like talking to her about it, and he realizes that she's already far better at allomancy than is usually the case. Like I said, she's almost like a prodigy. And he tells her the story of that when he snapped. And he snapped when an obligator took him and Kelsier's mother when they were younger. And I can't really remember why, but essentially their mother was taken. It was because they're half-bloods. So the Steel Ministry found out that the noble that had sex with their mom never killed her. So they ended up finding her and took her away.
But they never found out about the father.
Well, it's never really brought up about their father. So we don't really know.
Well, I thought that she knew. Are we talking about Vin?
No.
Oh, for some reason my brain was just talking about Vin.
We're talking about Marsh and Kelsier.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So Marsh snapped when that happened, and he actually wants revenge on the Steel Ministry, which is kind of why he ended up agreeing to this. Agreeing to joining them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
Obviously as a ploy. So we cut to Kelsier, and he's with Yedin on the boat, taking the supplies to the caves. And at this point, Sazed has actually translated a good amount of this leather-bound book that they found. So we learn that this leather-bound book is the journal of the Lord Ruler that we have been reading before every chapter. So you were correct.
I was correct.
So this logbook that they found is actually the journal of the Lord Ruler before he ever became the Lord Ruler.
I like though that it's interspersed in between chapters. You get like little snippets of it.
Yeah. And obviously this is like midpoint, even further than midpoint of the book when we learn this. So it's like a little bit of a reveal, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when did I call that?
Like second time, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I like it though. I don't know if it's like the biggest reveal in the world to me, but I do like it.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's like a cool little thing because you at this point are like, I feel I kind of felt like that
Some
with
of some
kids.
of the ones you were also you cherry picked them.
I
So
did.
like I didn't get every single one of them. Like
Yes.
that last one didn't even sound like the Lord Ruler, but like there was some of them that you were saying and I was like, dude, there's no way it's not him.
Yeah, I know.
So I think I'm not saying you gave it away, but I'm saying like some of them I feel like it's hinted at. I feel like it's you could put it together.
Yeah.
But it's not in a bad way.
Right.
I like it.
So Kelsier and Yedin end up getting to the caves, and they speak to Ham, who's been there training the ska.
Dude, what's Ham been doing?
Training the ska.
Oh, he's been training the ska.
Yep, training the ska. So they talk to him about the progress, and I think at this point they have like over like 6,000. So they have a good amount. They've been building up a good amount of people, and this has been like the span of like 5 months or 6 months. So it's been a while.
1,000 a month is a pretty good record.
Yeah, honestly. So Kelsier and Yedin are there for about a week, and Kelsier ends up kind of speaking to all the ska there, and he ends up using one of the ska soldiers who has been outwardly speaking out about Kelsier's plan, basically saying like it's not possible. We'll never beat the Lord Ruler. Kelsier ends up using him as an example, and he ends up being like
What
he
do
ends up.
you Okay, you're actually I was about to say what do you mean by using an example, but I think you're about to tell me.
I
So,
am.
I cut you off for no reason. How do you feel about that?
I feel great, and I feel even better that I'm about to explain this to you.
I'm excited to hear what you're about to
No, but
explain.
I am glad that you're interested though,
Yeah.
to be honest. So he ends up having this conversation and basically having a debate, and he ends up getting him to basically fight another one of the people there who disagrees. So he's like, "All right, you know,
Does he use soothing on him? Is that how he
yeah,
does
he
it?
does. He riots his emotions. So he
That
makes him more prone to like want to fight, and he makes him because he does it on purpose. He knows he has this view against him, and he wants all the other ska here to hear what he has to say. He wants the ska to hear the opposing view, and then he uses this fight with another ska who's like this smaller ska, and his name's Demo. And this other ska who actually is on Kelsier's side, he has them fight, and he uses Alamanti to sway the fight and let the smaller guy win to kind of show the ska that the little guy can win. The little guy can beat down the opposing side. And he uses this to kind of rile up the ska and be like, listen, we're going to beat the Lord Ruler, even though we're the little guy. We're going to do this. And he kind of beats down that view against him. And he boosts the morale of the soldiers, and he keeps them kind of willing to fight.
I'm not going to lie, I really like that.
Yeah. It
I
is kind of
really
manipulation, too.
I mean, it is yeah, like from a moral standpoint, it's not really a good thing,
Yeah.
but the fact that it makes sense. Okay, actually, hold on, let me say this. My favorite thing about like this magic system is, you know, it's like most magic systems you have like fire-based magic, lightning-based magic. Like you have like your attack spells, your defense spells, your
Yeah.
like all of that kind of shit. This is these magic abilities like yeah, they have the push and pull one, but from the most part most of them are like subtle
Mm,
magic.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you use them to like manipulate other people or change the sway of battle or
Exactly.
like it's a very it's not I wouldn't it's not in your face. It's like a subtle form of magic. And I really like that it's like you can find a lot of interesting ways to use this magic system versus just fireball.
Yeah, the uh and the fact that like our main characters are half breeds and they have to almost hide when they're using it too. So like in the fight, one of the ways he sways is they're using swords. So he literally is like manipulating the Demo's sword to like be like to I don't know. He uses like the metal manipulation, but he also uses the yeah, like he uses the soothing, the writing, because there's parts of it where you can affect other people and parts of it that only affect you. So it goes both ways. Um,
I'm into it.
yeah. So back in Felice, we cut to Vin, and she's also reading through the Lord Ruler's journal because, Sazed has been translating it up to the point that we've read. And Spook arrives in Felice, and he says that he came with Dachshund.
Spook, we haven't seen him in a while.
We haven't. I just wanted to throw this other sentence of him speaking, because we have to hear it. Weapons for the getting, giving for the time to be.
Weapons for the giving. Weapons for the getting, giving
Yeah.
for the time to be.
And Vin's like, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, we needed to drop off more weapons. So he's learning normal language.
He's aware that he speaks like an imbecile.
Yes. So Dachshund's there, dropping off more weapons, and before Spook leaves, he gives her a handkerchief. He gives Vin a pink and white handkerchief, and Vin's like, what are you doing? Vin's like, what is this boy doing?
Spook gave that to her?
Yeah.
Spook's like, handkerchief, for the getting, you taken handkerchief for the getting.
Exactly, yes.
And she's like, dude, okay, I
She's
guess.
like, why? And then
I'm imagining Spook as like I said, Newsies, but I'm imagining like that strong, like British Brooklyn accent, like, oi, but a handkerchief for the getting.
Yeah.
Handkerchief for the getting, you take handkerchief, you.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. He's like Newsy Yoda.
Newsy Yoda? Oh, I guess because of the speech
patterns.
patterns.
Just the speech, yeah.
I thought you were saying he's a wise man.
Not quite. But
No, he is. I'm headcaning it.
He has some growth to have. He has some growth. But yeah, Vin's confused. She's like, what is this? She ends up asking Seiza, and Seiza basically says that this means that Spook wants to court her.
Oh, so Spook's like, for the getting, please,
I love you.
come to my bed.
Yeah.
Bed to my cum.
Yeah. I'm sorry? Bed to my cum? That bed to my cum's amazing. What does that even mean, though?
Bed to my cum.
Come in my bed?
Well, yeah, because
Okay.
I said come to my bed, and then I said bed to my cum.
Okay, I get it now. Yeah, I was thinking of something a little more graphic.
Well, I'm assuming if she came to his bed, that's what. She's. Never mind.
Yeah, we'll stop.
No more bed, no more cum.
No more bed, no more cum. So, as Vin's talking to Seiza, he also discusses that the terraceman in the journal, Rashek, right, that the Lord Ruler has brought up a couple times. He says that Rashek is the leader of the terracemen at that point, and Seiza says that these terracemen that the Lord Ruler has with him could be why the Lord Ruler ended up growing to hate his people, because obviously he bred them and did all that. So he feels like this Rashek character in the journal is kind of the origin of this. And he ends up explaining Ferukemi to Vin at this point. And real quick before I explain it to you, because I never got to that, he says that he knows all these religions, right? But he doesn't know his own religion. He doesn't know the Terrace religion. It's one of the only religions that never got passed down.
Doesn't make sense.
Because so these metal mines that were passed down to him, they never contained his own religion.
And there's no way he could have figured it out?
No, like...
So how does he practice?
He doesn't practice his own religion. He doesn't know it.
Oh, okay. So I thought you were saying, like, I don't know my own religion. Like, I'm a part of this religion. I just don't know how to do it.
Well, he's not even a part of it. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Is I thought that's what you were saying, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Oh,
but it's like, this is the religion I'm supposed to have, and I don't know it.
Perfectly said.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
I thought he was like, yeah, no, I'm a practicing Christian. I don't know who Jesus Christ is.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. So, well, and that's why Seiza's so excited about this book, because he feels like he might find it in this journal.
I'm hoping for him.
Yeah. And real quick, I'm going to explain ferrochemistry, which is just be prepared.
Okay, I'm listening. Ears perked.
Okay, so you know how I said he has these metal mines that contain knowledge?
Yes.
And he also has metal that he can store. I need to figure out a good way to say this. So we have allomancy with the 8 metals.
Yep.
Ferrochemistry is if you have an iron bracelet, or maybe not an iron bracelet. Let's say you have a tin bracelet. You can basically take. So remember how I said he was wearing glasses that time?
Yes.
He was impairing his vision and storing it in a tin bracelet so that later on he can use the vision he stored to have his senses, to have his vision like enhanced. So he essentially has to spend time devoiding himself of a certain like strength or a certain weakness so that he can use it later on. So for example, we were like, how did Seiza get to Credit Shaw so fast to save Vin? It's because he used a metal that he was storing speed in, and he used it to be like super fast.
So like there was a point in time when he purposely was super slow
Exactly.
so he could store speed.
Yes.
Okay, that is a really hard concept to grasp, but I'm grasping it.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting the concept of it. But like the actual implementation of it is something that I'm gonna have to think about for a
Yeah.
second.
So like he has to spend like, so let's say he spends like a whole night or a whole like week without any strength. So he's all shriveled up. And then
Does he like
he literally, it shows in his nature. So if he were to store strength, he would have to be all shriveled and weak. And then later on, if he used that strength, he'd be massive.
so is it like he can does he like do like a spell or something on himself to make himself shriveled, or does he just do these things?
He can just do these things, but he has to store them in the metal that correlates with it.
So for him being shriveled for a week so he could be really strong, he would just like not use any strength. Or does
Exactly.
he have to like do something that
No,
makes him shriveled?
it's almost like it's getting pulled from his body and getting stored.
Yeah, I get that. But I'm saying like the process of actually storing it is like, does he have to do something or does he just have to not do something? Like when he wore the glasses, it's like, did he do something to himself that makes his vision bad? That way he could store the good vision? Or did he just, like use glasses so his vision was less good?
Um, okay, so the process is he essentially active. I guess like I'll try to explain it, but he activates something to where he's not just like walking slowly purposefully. He literally physically cannot walk fast. Like his body is draining itself of speed to where he literally is like moving like his arm is super slow because he physically cannot, but he can stop it at any point and be normal. But it's just as however long he wants to go without that
And that would be
speed.
for like how he charged the speed one that he used earlier.
Exactly. So
Okay.
he probably had to go for like 3 weeks to
So
be
it
able to make that whole trip that
so it
fast.
is something he has to do to himself.
Yeah, he has to debilitate himself
Okay.
in order to have this.
Because I was under the impression that like maybe for the speed one, like does he just walk slower than normal, or does like he has to do something? But it is he has to do something.
Right.
So it is like a full debilitation that he has to put himself under.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, Doxson's there, and I'll just say this quickly, but Vin has a little conversation with Doxson about Doxson's backstory. Doxson used to be a plantation ska. So he used to be on a plantation, and he
And Doxson is the friend.
of Kelsier.
Okay.
Yeah. And he ended up his wife ended up being a ska woman that the noble took to bed and killed. And so he's just kind of telling his backstory on why he hates nobles so much, other than the fact of the obvious divide.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Justin had to go pee, and he doesn't know I'm recording this, and he won't know until the episode comes out. And I just want everyone at home to know that I love all of you, and Justin hates all of you, and you're all my sweet little piggies in the pig pen, and I support you and love everything you do. And Justin hates you, and that's it. That's all I wanted to tell you. Oh my God, he's coming. But
All right, Damon. We have another paragraph. This is the last one I will say for this video.
okay,
I sleep but a few hours each night.
okay,
We must press forward,
okay.
traveling as much as we can each day. But when I finally lie down,
Okay.
I find sleep. I find sleep elusive. The same thoughts that trouble me during the day are only compounded by the stillness of night.
Stillness of night.
And above it all, I hear the thumping sounds from above, the pulsing from the mountains, drawing me closer with each beat.
Oh,
What does that mean?
We got some thumping going on in the mountains.
Yeah, the thumping and
Dude.
we have some thumping in the mountains.
Thumping in the mountains,
Bro,
dude.
I want to go
thinking-
thump in the mountains.
We can go thump in the mountains together.
All right, dude. Us and our balls.
Also,
Speaking of balls, Vin's had another ball.
Vince had another ball.
Could you believe it?
Did she hear the thumping in the?
She did. And she's talking, she's mingling. She finds out through conversation that Kelsier's plan to cause tension among the houses is working. So these bodies he's been leaving and the ATM he stole, the nobles are very concerned, and there seems to be tension growing between them because they think the other houses are plotting against each other. She also learns that the Inquisitors have hunted down twice as many Ska thieving bands the last few months. And they're not just taking them in for questioning and execution, they're just leaving them dead where they're found. So it seems like ever since Vin and Kelsier kind of broke into Craddock Shaw, the Inquisitors have been going ham. Like they're hunting and hunting, just they're just hunting.
They're hunting? What are they hunting?
They're hunting Ska.
They're hunting
Thieves.
Ska.
Because you would assume looking for Vin.
Yeah.
Shan talks to Vin.
And that's happening like throughout Craddock Shaw. Like there's like an inquisition. Like they're looking for
Throughout Luthadel, yes.
Luthadel. So not just Craddock Shaw.
Well, Craddock Shaw's the palace, but throughout the city of Luthadel.
Yeah, but I'm saying like they're not like just like going around the area and looking. Like they're looking around the entire city. Okay.
And
so like there's a manhunt.
Yes. And
so like it's a big
it's a big hunt.
Yeah, it's a hunt.
It is.
It's
yeah,
a hunt, dude.
It
it's
is.
A hunt.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
So Vin ends up talking to Shan again, that one bitch. And she is just expertly condescending as usual. And
I hate this bitch.
Yeah, she ends
How
up.
old is she?
She's like probably 18. Like she's
Okay, so I can call her a bitch and not feel bad.
Well, yeah, you can call her a bitch.
Okay.
Even if
I don't want to call like a 15-year-old girl a bitch, you know, because like she's a 15-year-old.
That's very mature of you.
But like an 18-year-old girl, you're an adult legally.
Yeah.
So you're a bitch.
Okay. So yeah, well, speaking of, she ends up asking Vin to search through Ellen's books. Remember how I said earlier how she was like, get used to being used? She's like, Vin, I want you to look through Ellen's books because I want to know what he's reading and report back to me. And
I say no. What? No.
Yeah, but Vin, because she's trying to play the side of the nobles, she's like, well, maybe I can use this as an opportunity to kind of get into, see what Shan's up to. She's like, okay.
True.
And when Vin sees Ellen next, you know how I mentioned earlier in the book I mentioned earlier in the video how when a nobleman sleeps with a Ska woman, he has to kill her.
Yeah.
So Vin just found this out when she was talking to Doxson, because Doxson told her about his past. And this is the first time Vin hears about this. She never knew this.
It's probably pretty heavy to take in.
It is. So when she sees Ellen next, she can't resist to ask him. So she's like, Ellen, have you ever slept with a Ska woman? And Ellen ends up admitting that his father made him when he was 13. Yeah. His father made him, but he didn't know that they were going to kill her afterwards. Yeah. I know. And they end up talking more about the Ska.
Icky.
I know, it is icky. And they end up talking more about the Ska because Ellen is a very curious man. He wants to learn more about the Ska.
I mean, in Ellen's defense, he hates his father, so.
He hates his father. And Ellen actually ends up giving Vin a handkerchief.
Is it also pink and white?
The color doesn't matter for what.
Oh, I thought like a pink and white handkerchief.
Yeah, I guess
so.
It's
just a handkerchief.
Yeah, because Vin actually ended up crying during this conversation, and Ellen gave her the handkerchief. But at the end of the conversation, Vin goes to give it back, and Ellen was like, "I didn't just give you that because you were crying. And he ends up explaining that he actually likes her.
Yep, I'm actually so good on him. Yeah. I don't trust him.
Okay, so Ellen ends up leaving.
I gave him one morsel of defense, and he immediately spit back in my face.
Why? Because he likes Vin?
Yeah.
All right,
Dude,
fair enough.
Get out of here.
So he ends up going to meet with his friends again.
Murderer.
And Vin secretly follows around the outside of the tower. So they're in like this tower. She uses her allomancy to kind of get up to the tower with the pushing and pulling of metals, and she's on the outside listening in on the window. And she hears his conversation with his friends. She overhears them talking about how they are literally speaking out against the Lord Ruler, and they're like, maybe one day, they'll all be the new heads of their houses, and they can change things. So him and his friends seem like they have good intentions. And Kelsier shows up, sneaking up on Vin, and sees her listening in, and he tells her that at the end of the day, they're just nobles making alliances, nothing new. So he doesn't actually trust that he's like, they're just words. They're saying these things, but they're still nobles at the end of the day. They're still going to do what all nobles do.
So he thinks they're like you. They say things they don't mean.
Yeah. What does that mean?
You don't remember back in our MGS3 video, I think. You literally, I was like, Justin, you just like contradicted yourself, and you went, sometimes I say things I don't mean,
Oh yeah, I did
and
say
that's
that.
a problem.
But that was true, and I didn't mean it though.
And then you said, well, actually, I didn't mean that either.
Yeah, I didn't
But
mean
I've
it.
held it against you since. I think I've mentioned it in every video since then.
Yeah, you might have. Yeah, because it is actually a part of my personality.
And it is corroding our friendship.
Yeah, and to be honest, we don't have a friendship to corrode.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't see you, you don't see me.
I'm only in this for the money.
I feel like the amount of money we're making right now is a good enough reason for me to be in the same room as you, so I'll let it slide.
Yeah,
I love you, dude.
I love you too. Fuck you.
Good. I like that too.
So what's Vin doing?
So the crew assembles at Club's shop for another status meeting.
I still don't trust Club.
He's just been at his shop.
And
Which I'm serious. He's just been at his shop.
He's suspiciously at a shop.
He's been smoking up the shop. And so they're having another status meeting. And we learn that Marsh was able to get into the Steel Ministry. He accomplished.
He actually did his mission.
He finally did it. So he's in there.
Okay. Yes.
He's essentially training to be an obligator.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vin tells the group that House Tequil, doesn't matter, is vulnerable, and the chaos Kelsier is sowing is working. And the nobles have actually begun assassinating each other at night. Like, they feel tension, and they're essentially trying to strike before things start, even though nothing's even happening.
Oh, so like, okay, so tensions in Lucenda.
Yeah, Luthadel. Yeah.
Have been rising.
And I meant to say this, like, I already said Mistborns are incredibly rare, but certain houses have Mistborns, and they kind of keep that secret. So they don't let people know who their Mistborns are. And it's like a secret that because they're so powerful, so nobody knows who has Mistborns, who is a Mistborn. Anywho, so Ham says that he's gonna go check. Ham says that he's gonna go because they're having this meeting. Ham says he's gonna go check in with his allies in the garrison because he used to be part of the Luthadel garrison, even though they're they're mercenaries. Like they work for the Lord Ruler, but it's kind of like they're in a world where there's only so many choices, right?
Yeah.
So Vin volunteers to join him, and she kind of wants him to train her a bit in pewter because that's what Ham specializes in. So I'm sure you've noticed she's been having these little mini training sessions with the crew.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ham and Vin leave the following day, and Vin asks Ham about his family, and we learn that they live outside the city. And so Ham has his own family, but he hasn't even told Kelsier where they live because he's very paranoid, obviously, if one of them gets caught. He doesn't ever want his family to get hunted down as well and killed. And so this is just kind of a little bit of his backstory, a little bit. And Ham also mentions that him, Breeze, and Dox, or Doxon, they call him Dox. They're worried about Kelsier.
Dox is a better name than Doxon.
Actually, you're right. I'll start calling him Dox.
Yeah,
I like that better.
That'll make me feel better too.
Okay. You don't like that Dox has a son? It's just Doc's son.
That's how it's spelled?
No, it's Dockson.
I've been thinking Doxxen the whole time.
That's actually kind of stupid.
Like the actual reindeer, dude.
No. Yeah.
Dachshund?
Wait.
From Rudolph the Red. That's why I made the joke.
But is it spelled with 2 X's?
I'm almost positive. It's like
the almost is the key there.
Well, you know what? Fine. I'm fucking intelligent.
Good. I believe you now.
Smartest man
I believe
alive.
you. You just actually made me believe you with that.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so he says that they're worried about Kelsier. They think he's going too far, like we talked about earlier. They feel like he's pushing himself too much in something, even though they're trying to do the same thing as him. Like, they want to beat the Lord Ruler. They want to do all this, but they feel like Kelsier is taking things a little too far.
He's going about it just a little too intensely.
Exactly. So they eventually arrive at the garrison, and one of the guards there tells Ham that an army of Ska rebels attacked the Whole Step garrison, which is a garrison outside of Luthadel, and that the Luthadel garrison is actually going to be heading out in a couple of hours to help fight back the Ska rebellion. And Vin and Ham are like, wait, a Ska army? And they try to hide their supplies as they realize that their Ska army has acted prematurely for some reason. The army has basically shown itself and attacked a garrison.
Oh, I guarantee you it was under the command of someone and that he didn't know. And like there's someone in the midst
So
Doing some shady shit.
Vin and Ham hurry back to Club Shop and they tell Kelsier, and Kelsier's like, he immediately starts preparing to leave. He's like, I don't know what's going on. We need to go find out. And he's giving orders to the rest of the crew. Vin ends up being like, I'm going with you. And Kelsier's like, this is going to be a difficult trip because the Holstep garrison is like a 2-week trip by canal.
Yeah.
It's far away. So he gives her a shit ton of pewter and he's like, swallow all of this. We're essentially running there. So she downs this pewter. They immediately start running. And they literally in 16 hours get there, which is usually a 2-week canal trip. They get there in 16 hours.
The way you were describing it is the effects of using so much and so strong makes you dead, essentially.
So it gets to the point where this is what is called pewter dragging. If you abuse pewter, she gets to the point where like she's about to fall over, even though she's using pewter. And Kelsier's like, use tin to enhance your pain so that it'll wake you up. So she ends up using tin to enhance her pain of this pewter dragging, so it'll wake her up so she doesn't fall over unconscious.
Yeah.
And if she were to ever stop burning this pewter, she would literally fall over and just sleep for like days, probably.
Yeah.
So they get there.
So what you're telling me is they are ODing.
Yeah.
This grown man has forced this 16-year-old girl to OD.
No, that is a thing throughout the book, though, is that Van and Kelsier heavily use Allomancy as a crutch because they have access to all the metals. They are literally constantly using it. Like it's brought up throughout, like Van's at the balls and she literally used pewter to help her dance better. Like she's using these things because she uses.
And that's got to be a negative.
Yeah, well, it's something that'll come up eventually, but she's using it more and more and more and more.
Wondering if there's like an Allomancy sickness.
So there is a thing where like if you try to burn like an impure metal, it'll make you sick. But yeah, we'll
get more. We got a whole trilogy.
You're having good thoughts. Yeah. So they end up arriving like 16 hours later, and they realize like they're too late. The Ska army that attacked had been slaughtered, and very few were left fighting. So this army they've been building for 6 months acted prematurely, and they got slaughtered. So Kelsier, he's about to join this fight, even though all the men are dead. It would just be him against this whole garrison because he's just so distraught. And he's like, I need to fix this. And Vin talks him down and suggests that they just check the caves. She's like, let's just go to the caves, see if anyone's left, because we need to at least make sure that what we have left is still okay.
I like that Vin is like essentially second in command. Like,
yeah,
Vin feels like a captain. Like she's also,
yeah, because she has like she's a Mistborn. She has so much power.
Yeah,
even though she has
though she's young and
she has no
like,
experience.
Yeah, but she's so powerful and is so close to Kelsier that like the people respect her enough to take orders from her.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and they end up going back to the caves and they find Demo, who was that young Ska that, do you remember, that Kelsier like helped win the fight?
Yeah.
So they find Demo, and Demo ended up staying behind, and he says only 2,000 of them stayed behind. So only 2,000 of them are left. I feel like at that point they had at like 7,000 or 8,000 built up.
So like the majority of their army is gone.
The majority of the army is dead. And Yedin,
where did they, like, I know they started the assault, but like did they just attack the city? Like where did they attack?
Yedin had grown too confident because when him and Kelsier took that trip to check, he left Yedin behind to...
This fucking prick.
Yedin had grown too confident and decided to test the army. Not anywhere...
Let's test the army!
Yeah, not anywhere near Luthadel. It was just a garrison outside of the city. And Kelsier begins to blame himself, as usual. He's
Dude, Kelsier, it's not your fault, man.
I know. And then he sees a familiar Ska approaching in the caves. And he recognizes the Ska from the plantation from the very beginning of the book that Kelsier had set free. And in the book, he had a conversation with the Ska very early on. So this is kind of a moment that kind of wakes Kelsier up as he realizes how far they've come in getting the Ska to think of themselves as better.
Yeah.
As what they should be thought of. So I kind of wanted to read this part of the book and to close out this part 3.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read this to you. And I'm going to start off with dialogue, and this is the ska that Kelsier is speaking to.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let me give you another piece of advice, Kelsier, survivor of Hathson. Know when to quit. You've done well, better than any would have expected. Those ska of yours killed an entire garrison's worth of soldiers before they were caught and destroyed. This is the greatest victory the ska have known in decades, perhaps centuries. Now it's time to walk away. With that, the old man nodded his head in respect and began to shuffle back toward the center of the camp. Kelsier stood dumbfounded. The greatest victory the ska have known in decades. That was what he fought against. Not just the Lord Ruler, not just the nobility, he fought against 1,000 years of conditioning, 1,000 years of life in a society that would label the deaths of 5,000 men as a great victory. Life was so hopeless for the ska that they'd been reduced to finding comfort in expected defeats. That wasn't a victory, Menace, Kelsier whispered. I'll show you a victory. He forced himself to smile, not out of pleasure and not out of satisfaction. He smiled despite the grief he felt at the deaths of his men. He smiled because that was what he did. That was how he proved to the Lord Ruler and to himself that he wasn't beaten. No, he wasn't going to walk away. He wasn't finished yet. Not by far. That is the end of part 3.
Okay. Okay.
And that's where we're going to end the video.
I'm excited to see where it goes, though.
Yeah, we're at a low point for the characters.
We are. It is pretty unfortunate that this entire book so far, their struggles and hopes and dreams have been reduced to ash because stupid ass fucking dumbass name, stupid ass
Yedin,
fucking.
yeah. He's the worst.
Yeah, I'm Yedin. I thought we were ready. I hate you.
No, he's really annoying in the book too. And he's their employer. Like and now they lost their employer, they lost their army. Really the only thing they have is at least the whole thing with the nobles and the sowing of the chaos. Like they have that going for them.
Yeah.
But Kelsier,
I mean, Vin has still infiltrated the ranks, so she hasn't been discovered yet. So they do still have that as well.
Yeah, but Kelsier still doesn't know about the 11th medal, and it's like it's a very mentally low point, and that's why that end where Kelsier kind of tells himself, he's like, no, I'm
not even fighting for revenge anymore. I'm fighting for the ska. He's like, this is his moment of becoming a freedom fighter versus just out of revenge.
Yeah, and it's also him it's him also realizing that like this is insane. Like he's doing something that's never been done, and he needs to look at this from a different perspective, like you're saying. And he forces himself to smile. And he's like, even though this is a big loss, you know, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's that, dude.
Dude, that was pretty good.
Yeah, we got through like 450 pages of book in a few hours. So, how are you feeling with all this all this exposition?
I will say some of the side characters are lost upon me.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have any attachment to them, and that would probably change if I read the book.
Right.
But that's the nature of this podcast, is that like you're just telling me things. So like certain things can't be said because we just don't have time for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Ham. He's a PigPenPodcast favorite, of course.
Of course.
But I mean, really, I don't really have any feelings towards him, except that he's the best. He's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Not contradictory at all.
No, I don't really care about him to say that really, but I accept the fact that he's my favorite.
No, I completely understand. And like there are also a lot of things dealing with the allomancy that I wish I could have kind of.
I think you did a good job of explaining the element. I feel like I got a pretty good grasp at this magic system, which like the magic system and the characters of Vin and Kelsier are probably the Lord
Ruler.
Fucking what was his the Lord
Ruler?
Lord Ruler, yeah.
Yeah.
The Lord Ruler, Kelsier, and Vin are definitely the highest points of interest I have.
Yeah.
And the magic system is cool enough, and it's very unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most unique magic systems I think I've ever seen.
It's honestly probably the most unique magic system I've ever seen as well. And I think that is a big part of what made these books popular. And it is definitely iconic.
Yeah. And I think I like it. I like it.
Yeah, good.
I like it
I'm
so
glad.
far.
I'm glad.
I
And
can't say that I love it, but I also have only been told half the book. You know what I
exactly.
mean? So like, I wouldn't have been able to do that no matter what.
Yeah, and there's been some fight scenes I glossed over, and reading those is awesome. Like the the scene where he steals the ATM and he fights the Haze Killers, like that is such a cool, like the way it's written and how he uses the Allomancy. So when we do the next part, there's going to be some very important fight scenes, and I'll definitely break them down for you because I want you to experience that a little bit.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I actually am genuinely excited. And also, I gotta say, and I think everyone at home will agree with me. For the first time in the seat, I think you did great.
Thank you.
I think you did great, dude.
See, it's definitely a big difference.
It we took a break earlier to like grab a drink and take a pee. And we kind of were having a conversation of how it feels on the other side of the seat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is extremely it's a different experience because this is the first time I've ever got to sit here and listen versus, you know, being in the seat, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like when I'm sitting there explaining something, it's like my mind is racing with so many thoughts and shit. And it's like I get to play off of your jokes and stuff. And then when I'm over here sitting in the seat, it's like I have to intake all of this knowledge. And it's a lot to intake. It really is.
Oh yeah.
Being on this side.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of the main takeaway is I'm like trying to get you through this story, but I also have to be aware that like, I want to give you time to process and ask questions as well. So, but yeah, it was fun.
I think
I
you did great. I think you
I'm
did great.
I I do I do respect the dedication.
It does take some
And
dedication.
and obviously we're both going to be going back and forth.
Yeah.
But since you started the channel primarily being in the seat, I now understand, and now we're both ready to keep it going, man.
Dude, the process of like writing out a script and summarizing and jamming it all into such a small amount of time. Because, like, dude, you said what? This book is like 700 pages long?
Yeah, about.
And it what? Take you like, if you read every single day, take you what? Like a week to read?
Yeah, yeah. If I was committed to finishing it, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that could do it faster, but for my reading, yeah, probably a week.
And we covered it in 3 hours or less.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
But yeah, like 450 pages in like 3 hours. Like
that's pretty good.
you got pumped and dumped with
I
some
really did get
knowledge.
pumped and dumped. And hey, man, it's good revenge because I've pumped and dumped to you multiple times.
Yeah, many
And
times.
I honestly would argue my pump and dumps were more brain hurty.
Yeah, it is a tax on the brain, but in a good way.
Yeah. I like the story so far. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see how the rest of the trilogy plays out. Like this is a whole trilogy.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm like, because the story setting that we're in right now, I'm like, okay, this is a clear beat the bad guy scenario.
Hmm.
So what happens that leads into another book?
And then another book.
Dude, I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited. And we will be seeing what happens at the end of this book in next week's episode, part 2.
Yep, on Friday.
Yeah, because like we said, we're going to keep single entries in a franchise together. So if there's ever a part 1 and 2, expect them to be one after the other. It doesn't matter who's in the seat. We will be doing part 2 of this book next week. And then the next week after that, we'll be back to Metal Gear for a week.
Exactly.
And
And yeah.
you can find us on Spotify and YouTube.
And even better, we've never said this, but hit that subscribe button because it's a good way to know when it's Friday.
It is a good way to know when it's
Because
Friday.
you'll get a little notification that says PigPen Podcast uploaded, and you'll be like, cool, it's
And
Friday.
I'll get a little notification that says $3 million deposited into my bank account.
Yeah, and I'll get a little notification that says, I don't know, I wanted to be included.
I mean, I don't pay Justin. He's
No.
just here.
I'm just here.
I reap all the benefits.
I'm a ska and you're a noble.
Yes, I am the noble. Justin is the ska. I am in my mansion right now in
Yeah.
the castle, and when we're done recording this in a couple of minutes.
Yep.
I'm gonna grab Justin by the throat. I'm gonna walk him down the stairs of my hallway that takes 30 minutes to traverse.
Yeah, it's
And
huge.
then I'm going to kick him out into the street and pull his pants down and pee on him.
Yeah. I'm already in my loincloth prepared for lashings.
Yes.
So
It is time for lashings.
yeah, it's gonna be a hard couple of days after the video. But, you know,
See, that's why you get to be excited when you're in the seat.
yeah,
Because,
Friday is my day off of getting beaten.
yes, I no longer get to lash you.
Yeah. So, guys, please tune in for my 3 hours of freedom next week. And we'll be happy to give you a few hours of freedom, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe. And
Yeah.
every Friday,
Kisses and hugs.
every Friday,
Send them to me.
Pigpen,
I need them.
Pigpen podcast. Bye.
Can we stop this?
Forgot to say it, but wink, wink, everybody. Have a good night.